Thanks, Rob.
Before the camera's on.
Right. And thank you for joining us for the August 18th meeting of the Litchfield School Board. I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the best part.
I'm sure. All right. Review and revision of the agenda. Do we have any revisions?
I'd like to make a motion to move the COVID-19 discussion that is currently listed under old business to after correspondence and comment, so before general business. I think it's an important topic that a lot of people are waiting to hear from us on. I also, frankly, don't think it's old business anymore. The new school year, I think it's new business this year. And I'd like to see it moved up so that we can have that conversation.
I'll second. You'll second?
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none. All in favor of moving the COVID plan to earlier in the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes 500. So that will be then after the correspondence and
School board comments.
school board comments?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have a summary of non-public actions from August 4th, 2021. Mrs. McDonald made a motion to approve the non-public minutes of July 14th, 2021. Mrs. Hirschberger seconded. The motion carried 500. Mr. Burke made a motion to accept the nomination of Robert Moore as CHS science teacher for a salary of $73,750 for the 2021-22 school year. Mrs. Hirschberger seconded. The motion carried 400. Mr. Burke made a motion to accept the nomination of Annika Vitens as LMS science teacher for a salary of $50,753 for the 2021-22 school year. Mrs. Hirschberger seconded. The motion carried 400. Mrs. Hirschberger made a motion to release Jody Callanan from her contract as CHS guidance director. Mr. Burke seconded. The motion carried 400. Mrs. Hirschberger made a motion to accept the resignation of Jody Callanan as CHS guidance director, subject to hiring a suitable replacement. Mr. Burke seconded. The motion carried 500. Mr. Burke made a motion to release Tom Lecklider from his contract as LMS principal, subject to coordination with the superintendent for the transition of a suitable replacement. Mrs. McDonald seconded. The motion carried 500. That brings us to presentations and recognitions.
So you can see we were doing a presentation, but we've moved it back in the agenda in order to accommodate the presenters. So
Right.
We'll come back to presentations. It is in the agenda later on.
Okay. That brings us to community input. We are still supporting the Google Meet for community input from home. You can join that Google Meet at meet.google.com/HAR-JANA-HNK or by phone at +1 662 565 5146. The PIN to enter is 911 992 355 pound. Is there anyone present tonight that'd like to speak?
Before we did,
Yes.
I did log in. There's nobody there. I'm going to
Okay.
log out just so.
I was going to say, Madam Chair, rather than have community input now, it sounds it'd probably better off just have it after the presentation, because I have a feeling that some of the community input is going to have to do with the reopening plan that we just moved up.
Do we have a second community input
We do.
session?
I'm saying just put the community input after the conversation of the reopening plan.
But we want the input before
Yeah,
the decision
before
is
we
made,
vote.
is the way I look at it. I'm just, I don't know.
Well, we may answer some of their questions before they ask them.
Okay.
That's my point. I don't really care. I mean, we can have it
Okay.
before.
Or what if we move the second one
No.
to after,
The second one is after. We just moved.
closer after?
No,
Why not?
I don't want to.
So Ryan, do you want to make a motion?
What's
On
the
that?
problem?
Well, I'll leave it.
All right.
I just think we may end up being redundant. That's all.
Okay. Does anyone here wish to come up and speak? You just need to come to the microphone and state your name and address.
It was a long walk. Brennan LaFave, 43 Brickyard Drive. The last school board meeting, I'd submitted a list of requests. I'm just here for feedback on that. If there's been time for a appropriate review and discussion amongst the school board and whether or not any of those requests will be fulfilled.
Honestly, we haven't had a discussion. We discussed it briefly at our last meeting, but I don't think we reached any consensus besides going back to the drawing board and bringing a new statement of unity back, and then having that discussion at that point. I think the last 2 weeks have just been filled with hiring and resignations and opening plans and things like that. So I apologize for not getting to it, we haven't had a meeting since as a board
Understood.
to discuss it. But thank you. It's still on the radar.
Is there an expectation with the school year starting what is it, 1 or 2 weeks now? I'm just looking to kind of button up whether or not any of the requests will be fulfilled.
By the beginning of the school
Exactly.
year.
So I honestly, there's so much there. It's very long and detailed. So picking it apart and then figuring out exactly how to respond to all the pieces is going to take a bit of time. Is there something in particular that is like pressing for the start of the year that you wanted to make sure you highlighted for us?
Specifically elementary and below, a lot of the topics that are identified, such as the white privilege sort of topics, LGBTQ plus education topics, so on and so forth, ensuring that there's some sort of policies in place to prevent those conversations from happening in those elementary and below environments.
Got it. And so our intent is to train the staff right at the start using the guidance that came out from the Department of Justice and the DOE that we've shared publicly. So, or it's been shared publicly. So that guidance is going to be the backbone of what we're going to train our staff relative to it. So, you know, those topics are not part of the curriculum. They're not, nowhere does it say, you know, we teach the following. So it's not something that we're adding, and we'll be training staff on how to have the appropriate conversations in a way that will comply with HB2 to make sure that they know what those kind of guardrails are.
Mike, I have a question. I have a follow-up question on that. Is there a way that we can make sure that our teachers and staff know about the discussions that have happened over the summer and make sure that they're informed on where we the input that we received as a community? And
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's important.
Mary and I just had this conversation as I was leaving the high school today, and we're leaving it up to the 3 schools because it is a different conversation at the high school level than it is at the middle, than it is at the elementary. And so we're going to be working with our admin team to make sure that they're addressing it, that they're having the dialogue and conversations so that teachers will know what those guardrails are and how to stick within them. So we're going to do it at each school. And then we'll collect feedback from those conversations. Are there ongoing questions or things that you are not clear of that we can get clarified at a higher level, if you would? So, but that will involve educating all of our staff about how things have unfolded over the summer. You know, a lot of staff are watching on TV. They're aware of what's going on. They either attended the community forum back in July or they watched it. So they do have an awareness, but not all do. Some people were away. So it'll be our obligation to bring everybody up to speed.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm still looking forward to a full response, but that's primarily the elementary and below is
Okay.
my concern as we get into the school year. So
Yeah. So elementary, you mean elementary school?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Has Principal Mitchell reached out to you directly on it?
no,
I'll work on having that happen too, because I think it's important that he is the leader of that school, be the one to sort of drive that.
understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comments?
I mean, can we just get up and just
Yeah, you
talk?
can just come right up and
Yeah.
we just need your name and address.
Okay.
Leanne Romano, 7 Country Lane. Obviously I came late. I went to the high school, so I apologize. Have you decided if they're having masks in the school, or is that still up in the air, and do we get a vote?
So we will be presenting a reopening framework to the board tonight. The board will be the ones to vote on that.
And who's the board?
The school board
Everybody
members
here?
are, not everybody.
No.
Raise your hand if you're a board member. Those 5 people are the ones who will vote on it. And then, and basically it's endorsing or telling us that we're off base on the reopening framework. We're not going to be having daily votes about what to do today.
Sure.
We're going to have a framework that will provide guidance that we can make the right decision as an
Do
administrative
you have some
team.
criteria that you're working with?
Correct.
Can you tell me what that is?
Yep. So the state of New Hampshire, after they got CDC guidance, they published a document called the School Toolkit for Reopening Schools.
And who made that school toolkit?
That was published by the Department of Public Health through the Department of Health and Human Services. So DHHS is how we often refer to them, or DPS, Department of Public Services, Public Health Services. And that document got released on August 11th. So less than a week ago is when we received that document.
Does it differ from what Sununu said? No masks, no mandates,
Yes.
a lot?
It differs because what the governor is saying is he's not going to issue an executive order relative to masks,
Mhm.
but it does have universal masking guidelines when conditions call for universal masking.
So we could potentially start without masks until something arises?
Right,
Or
there are
vice
metrics
versa.
outlined in that document, and that will be, if we adopt that plan, that we'll be using the metrics.
That's later on in the agenda though, right?
Yeah,
And
we
we'll
actually
be going
moved it
over
to
that.
after,
Yeah.
after correspondence, so,
So I'm jumping the gun here.
a little bit.
You,
Brian was
Okay.
you know
afraid-
what you're not jumping the gun on?
What?
Is tell us your opinion.
Yeah,
Because this
right.
is your
I
chance.
can tell you my opinion.
Yeah, do it.
I feel as though masks, or the masks that we're using in school or whatever, are not doing the job. My daughter played every single sport, and through the summer played sports, no masks, no COVID, no illness. We had COVID in our households. We all recovered in 7 days. I have friends that have taken ivermectin and have actually recovered in 3 days. My mother, who's a nightmare, like a wreck with her health, and my sister who had brain surgery, and my brother-in-law, all a mess, recovered in 5 days on remdesivir. So there are remedies. My fear is that once we go with the masks, then we go with the mandated vaccines, because everyone's pushing for all the kids getting these shots. They're not vaccines. They are emergency medical treatments deemed as potential vaccines. Vaccines work. This isn't exactly working 100%. So I'm not putting my kid through that position, and I don't want to take her out of school. I live a softball throw from my backyard to your school, Campbell. She's going to Campbell. So I
Wearing a
really stress. We did the masks. She wore the masks for every sport. She did her part. We all are doing our part. I don't want to go against whatever you guys decide, but I want to fight it. I really do. She did a great job, but it's not easy to go 6 hours and then 2 more hours of practice or tryouts or whatever. She has asthma. She did a really good job, not suffocating, but I'd prefer to not have it. And there are options. People can do vaccines. So they're supposed to be safe, right? If they're not safe, it isn't working. My opinion, not medical, but I have a lot of friends that are medical. I get a lot of emails about what is this, scientific this, this. I know I'm not a doctor, but are any of you?
Nope.
No,
Not that kind.
So I think my opinion matters just as much as the board's. And I say, no, that's my opinion. Sorry if I'm being aggressive, but I know this
fine.
path we're all going down, so. And I don't like any, I think it should be choice.
Thank you.
And I will make a good choice. If my daughter is not healthy, she's staying home. If she's sneezing or coughing, she's staying home.
And if there's someone in the classroom that might be sneezing and coughing, you know, I'll be like, look, wear the mask, stay away. Okay, but I don't wanna put anybody at risk. I love the teachers. I absolutely love the teachers, and I do not wanna see their health decline or be at risk. They have the option for vaccines. I don't want my kid to have to deal with that. She's healthy. And I've heard so many horror stories about what is happening with vaccines. We're not hearing about it because it's just not up there.
Thank you.
Again, my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Helen Grondin, 8 Roberts Road, Litchfield. This is going to be my first year that I'll be in the Litchfield School District. My oldest was 2 years at middle school. They went to St. Francis, and I had to pull them out from where they were because it was just getting way too out of control. I've heard so many good things about the Litchfield School District. I'm a little sad that I should have done it beforehand. But now I'm happy that I'm here. I'm very concerned about the mask. I don't want the kids to be masked. If you guys vote for the mask, can we compromise? Like, when they're sitting at their desk, can we take the mask out? Can we compromise? I'm begging, because the kids, they're sitting at their desk, listen to the teacher. As you can tell, I have an accent. I learned my English, and when I talk to people, when they talk to me, first thing I look is their lips. I need to see your lips to understand clearly. Any kids that you either visual or auditive, it's either way. I believe that the teacher should not wear a mask because he's standing in the front, he has his distance. I think it would be helpful for some kids that struggle. Even now, I'm pretty good with my English, but I go places that I'm like, what? I can't, because I'm so used to read on people's lip. And if when they walk in the hallway, in the bus, maybe they can wear the mask. But if we can start with no mask, that would be the ideal. I would love that. But I'm ready to somehow compromise. I don't think the mask works because the virus is submicroscopic. You need a special microscope to see it. And if someone farts and you have a mask and you can smell it, the mask doesn't work. That's my philosophy. That's how I see it. But
You should teach.
Oh my goodness, I love you, Helen.
but I mean, I'm trying to bring some positive and like trying to be funny, but it's just like I've heard good thing about Litchfield. I'm actually excited. And
Just one point of clarity, so the bus question, so that's settled because that's federal law. So any passenger on a public transportation has to be masked by federal law. So,
that's
we'll
fine.
be enforcing those rules because that's what we have to comply with. And just to be clear, that's
but
something that's
like I
been
said,
determined.
it's fine because by the time they leave home, by the time they get to school, they can take it out. But once they're sitting in their desk. But again, when I said the mask, I don't think it's a good thing. The kid put his mask on the desk, then the mask fall on the ground. The kid take his mask. So what do we have after that other than the COVID? It's all the germ, and now we wonder why the kids are sick. I don't think it's the purpose of it. But if some specific area we can okay, the bus, we need the mask, no question asked. That's it. That's all. I think we can all work with that. So, that's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public input?
Pete Stone, 15 Carlisle Drive. I'll be brief. I am the same boat as the folks behind me. I don't believe masks are the answer for our children. I think we're creating psychological problems down the road for our kids not being able to see other people speak and interact socially. I think last year. I think although we did a good job because we had no choice, I think we've passed that hump at this point, and we need our children to be able to socialize and be able to build bonds that they don't normally do, especially in the day and age of electronics when they're on their phones and their games all the time. School is one of those spots where social aspects are huge, and that's a huge part of their educational experience. So assign tables at the cafeteria during lunch and masks and things. I mean, come on, guys, think back to when you were kids. None of you would have liked that. I mean, I get it if we have a flurry of new cases in Litchfield or in New Hampshire, then we can make another choice. But I think as a rule, we need to nix the masks. So.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Noviello. I live in 6 Nathan Drive.
Sorry, what was your last name?
Noviello. Noviello. So I just have some questions I want to know about the program and so forth. We were talking back and forth, email Mike a while back. And my first thing is, what was the percentage last year of the infections in our school? Do you have any idea on that?
We had that stat, and
I think
it
our student
was,
rates were in line with the state average.
But more details would be great.
Oh,
What's the details? Just because I want to get an understanding of what we were.
Yeah. Well,
Just because obviously we're a small town compared to a big town, and I know the differences between bigger population and smaller population. Just curious.
So it may take me a while to pull that.
All
I
right,
didn't
okay.
bring that data with me tonight. I will tell you that our staff were infected at roughly
More.
twice the rate.
Right. Because so the adults were more infected than the kids were. Would you agree with that?
It's twice the adult rate. So I think it's because we're in-person services with, in the schools, but the rate was higher.
For the adults, not the kids, though.
Right.
Right. Okay. That's because obviously it's the biggest reason why I'm here. And I totally get it with the adults, and I know we did everything we could as Litchfield. We all pulled together and so forth, but we also have to understand what psychological, emotionally, what happens to these kids. I deal with kids all the time, and over the past 5-6 months, the social and emotional experience these children have had. I mean, what's the biggest fear for a child? Does anybody know what that is? It's public speaking. That's the biggest fear, right? Communication, being able to talk with someone, to be able to understand what's going on with them. What's that?
I've been amazed at how kids actually can public speak in our school system, because I was one of those growing up. But anyway,
Right, so
but they
sure.
just really impressed me.
Right, but still, that's still a big
Yeah.
thing, right? And then obviously, what deters them from doing that?
I don't have the percents though.
Okay.
Like that's how many cases we had in this school. Does it do the percents?
Underneath it,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
5.55 for students positives and 19.5% for staff
So
positives.
staff was
And it was
Almost
running at
double.
about a 10%. So our students were about half, and our adults were about double.
yeah, and obviously with some of those two also remote too was included in that.
Well, it was all the students.
Yeah. So if they were remote or in person, it was all included in that, right? Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because I think it's very important, especially, kids that are 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. They're trying to learn their verbalization. They're trying to learn their communication, and their skills get diminished. And I also ask this too, is that who's the children see all day, pretty much during school?
Teacher.
A teacher, right? So the teacher is like that parent, which I commend them all, because it's not an easy job, especially dealing with kids of all different challenges. But for them, that child looks at that parent, that teacher as a parent. So when they're trying to get interaction, remorse, confidence, acknowledgement, because obviously, I own a business. I deal with children. And the first thing when a child does something really good, what's the first thing they do?
Smile.
They look to see the parents acknowledging them
Mhm.
and smiling and being able to communicate. And I look at that. And I know it's not an easy job for anybody. And I don't commend it. I mean, it's an impossible win on either side. But I look at it this way. If we want to make sure it's not a social or emotional damage to these children, we have to think about being smart about protecting everyone. And this is not going away. There's already another variant. There's going to be another one coming through. I mean, how many times, what do we have statistics of what the flu was in 2018 or in 2019 at the school? I know one of my child in September in 2018, half the class was stricken with the flu. There was no precautions then with the mask, right? I mean, the flu has been killing people. Unfortunately, no one should ever lose a life for over 80 years. And for us as a town, I think we've done a really good job for the most part. But I think at some point in time, we have to be able to move on and evolve and do it smart. But for these children's sake, having a mask on, at least give it an option. That's what you should consider. Because we all know that it's not going to go away anytime soon. We'll have to deal with it. And I think that when you make that decision tonight, when you vote, and please don't vote, vote for the whole meaning of both sides. Because I know there's people that want to be masked and some that don't. I think the best option for a town of Litchfield, because you mentioned in your last meeting that you don't look at Litchfield on a national level, correct? That's what we talked, because when we talked about the CRT, you didn't say we don't take it as a national level. We don't take it as a state. We don't take it as a county, but we take it as a local town. And it's important, like the cases in the local town of Litchfield is not compared to something like Manchester or Nashua. Granted, I know it's a bigger community and so forth, more exposure and all that, but I think that's super important. I think the board should really think of that when you do make that decision that, not for me, but for sake for all children and not just my children. I'm not here for my children. I'm sure I've been involved in this community for over 17 years, and I've probably taught most of your kids at some point and so forth. But to me, I think it's important that we have to make sure that when we do this decision, that it's not going to make repercussions down the road, because I don't think we want to be known for the anxiety and stress that's already caused as it is going to the next level. All right. So I hope we make a reasonable decision on that, on the mask aspect, and make it at least an optional thing. And I hope that happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Carrie Douglas, 9 Pheasant Street, and I thank you for having input now, because I actually couldn't wait that long. I have an appointment to get to. You've heard a lot tonight. People obviously are very interested in having the option. Nobody is saying that a parent who wants to mask their child can't do that. But what parents who don't want their children masked for whatever reason, health reasons, there are children who for health reasons should not be masked. There are children for sensory issues that should not be masked, for emotional and social issues that should not be masked. Those parents have to make the decision that is right for those students. That is maybe very different from somebody else, but that's the choice they have to make for their family. And as a school board who is here to support the students of this town, it is your responsibility and obligation to support the parents in making the choices that are in the best interest of their students. Now, if that means that some parents are not comfortable with being in school with children without masks, there are options. There is VLAX. There are other places that they can go to send their children if you're not comfortable with kids not in masks. What is the choice for a parent who does not want or is not comfortable with sending their kid in a mask? They have to send them to private school, they have to tuition them out, or they are the ones who have to keep their kids at home. That's not fair to those children. So not only these parents should have the right to make that choice. Now I'm hearing that there is these metrics. My understanding is it's a county-based metric based on what the community spread is. I mean, we've all seen the signs of Market Basket in Hannaford. We are hamstrung by the fact that our county includes Manchester and Nashua, whose numbers are significantly higher than our town. This decision, if it is going to be a local decision, needs to be based on local statistics. I believe I saw that we have 1 to 4 cases. We don't even rank high enough to have a real number. We're 1 to 4. So make a decision that is appropriate for our town, because the reality is whether or not masks work we can have that debate. But the fact is, this is a small town and these kids are socializing outside of school. So if you're out on the soccer field, if you're in scouts, if you're playing lacrosse or football or whatever other sport you're playing with, Does the virus know that it's only supposed to spread on school grounds? I mean, if you can get through activities, socializing outside of school, what's the point in masking them in school? They're already cross-contaminated. They're already a cohort. So that realistically, it doesn't make sense to mask them in school when they're not masked anywhere else. So again, I urge, and then I've heard rumblings about possible testing of children in the districts. I sincerely hope that that's simply a rumor and not something that's real, because I think parents would have a very big problem with their children being tested on a regular basis. So yes, and I'm sure people say you don't have a kid in the district. You're right, I don't, because I don't want to deal with the masks. And I don't want to deal with what I feel to be some really ups and downs, ins and outs. We made the choice that was best for my family. And I encourage you to support the other families in this town to make the decision that's best for them. Because even if I don't have a kid in this district, I am a den leader in this town. I am a scout leader. I love these kids. I have a vested interest in these children, regardless of whether or not one of mine is in the school. I want what's best for all of them, not just some.
Sorry, can I just clarify 2 points? So Manchester and Nashua are pulled out of county staffs, just to be clear.
Okay.
They're standalone. When you look at the state map, you see Manchester and Nashua are not part of Hillsborough County for this
Excellent.
purpose. Okay, so that's an important.
That is a very important point
to make.
Yes.
And I forgot my second point, so you're off the hook.
All right. I would still encourage you to focus on town numbers when making a town decision.
Dr. Jettie, I'm just curious. Bedford and Londonderry both voted parent choice. How do we differ from them? I'm very impressed because I feel as though the people in Bedford and the people in Londonderry have some very intelligent people that vote. And I think that it's a good decision to allow those intelligent voters to make a choice.
School board made the choice in those towns.
So the people on the board, I assume that they're also residents of the town and, are able to make really good decisions. So can we do something like they did?
Well, so you're asking me that question, but it's the 5 board members who are going to.
5 board members,
that vote.
can we make that happen?
It's an option. I mean, it depends on each individual town, each individual district, each individual school board makes the decision for their own town. For their own
And
district.
the other piece is that the working relationship that we formed is that the board has hired me. So, for example, there's a snowstorm coming. I'm not taking a vote of the parents on what to do.
Sure.
I'm not calling all the board members to say, what do I do today? I'm getting up and I'm making a call in the best interest of the safety of the children. And actually, the feedback I've received has been pretty positive. I've made the right calls overall. We tend to be more open than closed. The staff haven't always been thrilled with me that we're more open than closed, but that's the bottom line of what is the right thing to do in our town. So I do take all of that into consideration. I think what will happen tonight is if what we present is not acceptable, I'll be sent back to the drawing board and come up with a plan that's going to work. The point I was going to make earlier, Mrs. Douglas, is that also has a right to communication. And so all that I'm trying to seek, right? I'm trying to find a way to make sure we are keeping everybody underneath the umbrella of the public education strain. And that's a challenging point. Trust me. I think overall last year, we got it more right than we got it wrong. And I would just ask the public to continue to trust us as we work our way through it. I am on the side of parent rights. I get that. But if we have, it's not an either or thing in my mind. We started the year last year with masking in the hallways. And then when children were able to be physically distanced at their desks, they could remove the masks. We started the year that way. And then what happened was the pandemic went like this. And then we said, okay, no more taking the masks off at the desk because we're trying to contain this thing. We're trying to stay open. We're trying to get through the year. I brought the point up about staffing because, quite frankly, 20% of our staff, I need those adults in their classrooms. It's not effective to put a sub in there or to combine 2 classes because we don't even have a sub. I would make an appeal to the public right now. The number of openings we have in our school, we are hurting for staff right now. trying to hire people in. And part of it is we've lost this sense of grace with each other. I mean, teachers are under fire left and right. And so trying to make sure that we have staff in those buildings, let alone in the middle of a pandemic still.
Having problems hiring people.
Oh, I
It's
I'm
everywhere.
trying to hire tech people. I've been
Yeah.
doing for 18 months. I can't get everybody.
I get that, but here's the thing, the doors are opening on August 30th and the kids are coming in, you know?
With the federal government, and I have to staff, and they're not happy about it, but you know, gotta make do with what we got. I know it sucks because I'm in the same position, but you know.
But we need to make
whole
the
separate problem.
right decisions to try to get everything balanced. So I'm just saying that it's bear with us. I think overall, we've been very steadfast and did things the right way last year. And I hope you trust that we're going to continue to do those things.
Psychologically, my daughter being in school, even with the mask, it was so much better for her than all of her softball friends that are from varying towns throughout New
Right.
Hampshire. In person is the best way, and I love every one of these teachers. I am very close with them because I have a child that has an IEP in the high school, and we're all buds. I want them around. I can't do it. I am not capable. But these children need normalcy. And I don't mean this made-up vaccine normalcy. I know some kids are immunocompromised, but mine's not. She's still not getting that vaccine. But I still don't want her masked if she doesn't have it. If you need her to be, she will be, but 6 hours, then 2 hours of, she plays every sport.
Yeah.
That's 8 hours.
Yes.
She gets out of practice and she's
Understood.
literally like, you know, like got a headache. Just
Would
saying.
it be too complicated to put those kids that more sensitive, that have immune compromised in a separate room and they have all their masks?
So-
What is the amount of kids that have to be really careful? And I understand, and I
Yeah.
totally respect that.
We've talked about that. I mean, we've already
Okay.
got students who are attached to a teacher. So can you imagine if we were shuffling that all up at this point? So there's pluses and minuses to all of
It's
these.
not like
I know
the-
the parents upset that their kids are being isolated away from everyone else.
It's not, there's not an easy answer. Trust me on it.
But again, it's like when I can't remember how many kids died from COVID in 2020, but in 2019, 900 kids died from drowning. Have we banned the pool? We should ban all the pools. And I think only 20 kids have died from COVID, and then we're shutting down all the schools. We've masked everyone, but 900 kids drown. We should put a lock and ban all pools around the world. That's how I see it.
But we have lifeguards.
No, I don't have a lifeguard at my pool.
I appreciate all of the feedback and all of the input. But in the interest of time, I wanted to ask if anyone else wanted to speak.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come on up.
There's also someone on the telephone, just so you know.
Okay.
I got a text.
Okay.
On the call.
Call,
Okay.
not the video, but the call.
Okay, so I'm Jillian Osmore, 34 Page Road. So I have a very different opinion, which is why on my way home I quickly came in. So I feel like people's opinions are one thing. I feel like people who study this for their job, who are immunologists, who are experts in these fields are another. And the CDC, the US Department of Education, the American Academy of Pediatrics have all said that all children in school, then from kindergarten through 12, should be masked. Whether or not you agree with it, it doesn't matter. You're a teacher, right?
I'm not wearing a mask.
Don't. I wouldn't want you as my kid's teacher.
I disagree. I
Right?
think that becomes the CDC.
So
I'm not going to be insulted.
I'm telling you my feeling, right? So I'm talking.
All right,
Okay.
fine.
I'm talking, right? So the problem is this year you're not offering a remote option. So you're requiring that I send my kid who has special needs to school, who cannot be vaccinated. So I am requiring that you protect those kids. The other issue I'm very concerned about is you're not going to offer synchronous learning. So when my child is exposed and she's home for 2 weeks, who is then going to be her para? Who's going to read every assignment to her? Who's going to teach everything? And the number of times that she's going to be exposed is going to be more, because if only half the kids have their masks on, then they're going to be closer and the exposures are going to be higher because they're not vaccinated. So I think there are a lot of things that, yes, we all want things to be normal. We all want that, but it's not normal. I would also say the cases in Litchfield currently are 13, which is higher than when we went back to school last year, right? So last year we had 1 to 4 active cases in town. We had lower spread in local towns, and we wore masks when the kids went to school. So now we have higher cases. I think that when you actually read the peer review articles, there are concerns, and the children cases are much higher. And it's happening down south, yes, because the vaccination rates are lower, but they're also in school. So that's what's going to happen up here. Because when we send our kids to school and we don't follow the guidelines, they're nose to nose apart, they're not wearing masks, they're not wearing them at recess. And I think the argument too, where I've heard a lot, is that they're saying that a lot of kids are socializing with their friends and they're out at Cub Scouts and they're doing different things. Not all kids are doing that. So I think the belief that it's not fair for kids to have to find alternative placement, well, it's just as not fair for kids who feel uncomfortable and want to wear a mask to have to find alternative placement either. Right? So I think, there are a lot of different opinions, obviously, but the reality is that there are experts in this country who have made recommendations, and I feel like we should be following them. And so that's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm not anti-mask. I'm not. I'm just going to leave that as it is. I am not anti-mask. I'm annoyed.
Jessica St. Pierre,
And
22
insulted.
Moose Hollow.
Masks, but you mouthed off at me, which was rude.
I don't think she mouthed off.
I didn't think I mouthed off of you.
Okay. I'm sorry. What was your name?
Jessica St. Pierre, 22 Moose Hollow. I like to speak fact, logic, be logic, get all the emotion out of it. And I actually have something in front of me on the CDC website itself, based off of all of the studies that they've done. And I can forward this to you in regard to medical masks and how effective they are. Disposable medical mask, also known as, sorry, I'm half blind, also known as surgical masks, are loose-fitting devices that were designed to be worn by medical personnel to protect accidental contamination of patient wounds and to protect the wearer against splashes or sprays of bodily fluids. There is limited evidence for their effectiveness in preventing influenza-type viruses and transmission. It's right on the CDC website. All of their studies, all of their research, all of it doesn't prove to be effective. What we do know is that there's a lot of children that have gone through psychological issues. Those are the facts. And that's all I have to say. And I will forward it to, I'll send it out in an email.
Thank you.
How many people?
It's one caller.
Okay.
After this speaker, we should do that.
Do the call. Yeah.
I'm Chuck Alessi, 17 Nesson Keg. I think it's okay. There's a bunch of things, I've got on, but I think it's great for people that got COVID and recovered. That's fantastic. I'm very happy for you. I lost an aunt to COVID last year. My wife's cousin just spent 2 weeks in the hospital with a COVID infection. It's not terrible for everybody, but do you want to be the one who dies of it? All the points that masks are not great, are not fun, are causing problems for kids. Yes, absolutely, probably is the case, but the alternative's worse. Okay, the alternative is worse. I don't want to take a chance that my kid is going to get sick, get his brother sick, get me sick, or worse, that I get them sick because we're not wearing masks. The highest risk of transmission is a group of people sitting in an enclosed space for multiple hours at a time. Does that describe your average classroom? I've got a 5-year-old, I've got a 3-year-old. Neither of them can be vaccinated. When the vaccines are approved for younger people, my 3-year-old will probably not be able to be vaccinated then either, because they're going to cut it to an age group higher than him. So I've got unvaccinated kids that can't get a vaccine. The 5-year-old is starting school. We should be really happy. Instead, we're really scared that he's going to bring something home, because if we're not masking and taking the precautions, then that risk is there. Is it definitely going to happen? Who knows? But I haven't gotten in a car crash. I still wear my seatbelt every day. The other problem is that Delta has a higher rate of asymptomatic transmission. We got a lot of vaccinated people, which is great. The vaccine keeps Delta from giving them severe infection, but it also turns them into an asymptomatic carrier, and they can spread it to all the people that aren't masked that are around them. We've already said that nobody here is a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but we talk to doctors. Doctors are all saying that we should be masking.
Not all.
No.
Not all.
Okay, doctors that are not on Fox News say we should be masking.
No. Yeah, that's not.
Excuse me. You had your opportunities for input. We need to let him speak. Thank you.
The state health guidance that was just released said that if we are in an area of significant spread, we should be universally masking. We are in an area of significant spread. The data is there. We should be masking. Also, and to the earlier point that this is just like the flu, we have a flu vaccine, and we take that too.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Thank you.
The fact is, you're never going to be able to.
All right. Anybody else for public input?
I'll admit the caller.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I think there's one more.
You can't stop
We're gonna go to the caller and then we'll.
Hi, caller. You're on into the school board meeting. Can you just identify yourself, name and address, please?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm driving to the hospital at this moment. I got called in. I would have been there if I could. My name is Samantha McClelland. I'm at 31 Chasebrook Circle, Litchfield. I've been listening to the meeting on my phone on the way in. First of all, I wrote a letter, and I hope that my letter can be read in full. I feel like I made some very valid points on that letter, and I am hoping to add a few more points to what I've heard so far today. In September of 2020, when school started last year, we had a total of 7 hospitalizations with 0 ICU cases in the state of New Hampshire. Yesterday, there was a total of 68 with 15 cases on ICU. I am headed to the ICU right now to take care of 2 of those patients. We, as of today, I think it was last night's numbers, were 13 active cases in Litchfield. So saying that our little hamlet town our numbers aren't substantial, when you think about 13 cases and 8,000 residents, that's actually a pretty high percentage compared to Nashua or Manchester. The other thing was the mask effectiveness, the CDC that was read earlier. That is the effectiveness to the wearer, not to the people surrounding. That's why in a hospital, we're not wearing masks to protect ourselves. Well, not surgical masks to protect ourselves. We're wearing surgical masks to protect our patients from being exposed from another patient. So the mask at the mouth is actually helpful because it can keep the viral load and droplets of the wearer without spreading them. I'm not going to go over what I wrote in my letter because I don't want to bore you all. But I'm just very concerned with the Delta variant. Children are getting very sick. We have a higher caseload than we ever have in New Hampshire, and school has not started. Kids are getting very sick. Young adults are getting very sick. Most of them are not vaccinated. So my biggest worry, I understand that high school and possibly middle school can have possibly the ability to choose in some point. But I think the most important thing is we have a whole bunch of children that don't even have the opportunity to be vaccinated, whether somebody wants that, their parents want them to or not. My child, who is going into 5th grade, is not vaccinated, and I'm scared to death for her to be sitting in a room. My child in 8th grade is a special needs, and he has sensory issues, and he has asthma. And my son is the first person to put a mask on and will keep a mask on all day. I'm not saying that all children are different, but I think it's important to realize that as children, I would rather have this be a really tough 2 years than next year say, oh, we lost 15 kids, which in the scheme of things wouldn't be a big percentage, but 15 children dying or becoming very sick is astounding for Litchfield. And if you look at percentage-wise, that's truly what could happen if you look down in Florida right now. One I wanted to say was, I'm sorry, I apologize for blabbering on. I just very much worry about what is going to happen in the long run with everything. My children did kind of remote and in person. When the numbers got really high, we were very worried, so we pulled our children out and they did remote learning, and their teachers were amazing and the schools were amazing. And my child with special needs, his Tara was amazing, logging on with him every day and helping him. It was hard though. It was extremely hard. And I think that if we want to keep the schools open, I feel that it's very important to wear masks, because I just got a text yesterday from a hospital in Florida offering me to come down and go into their pediatric ICU to help them, because they have 72 children in their ICU at the moment. And 72 of those children are all unvaccinated. I'm sorry, that's wrong. 70 of those children are vaccinated. 2 of them were vaccinated. And it was because they didn't wear masks in the classroom. None of them had infections until school started. There's just not enough air movement in these classrooms. Sports is fine. Kids are moving around. Air is moving around. But I just worry that in order to keep the schools going this year, which we all really, really want, we don't want to have to go remote. We don't want to have to, even do the synchronous. I know that's not on the table, but I'm just thinking, like looking at different areas of the country where these things are happening, and Boston is already starting to see some of this. So not too far away, that the only way that we're going to make it through the year is to have some kind of protection, and I think that's masks. So I'm sorry to take up your time, and I thank you, and I ask again that I hope my letter can be read in full.
Your letter has been read by the board members, and thank you for the call.
Thank you.
Anyone else on masks?
Everyone's done.
Sure.
Good evening. Thank you. Patrick Keefe, I'm the LEA president. I just want to talk about the reopening plan. In the reopening plan, it's alluded to that some students may need remote instruction. And obviously, if we don't mandate the mask, then some kids will stay home with masks. If we mandate the mask, some kids without masks will stay home. So whatever you guys decide on that. It appears that we're going back down a road where teachers really don't want to go. And that is the blended synchronous model, where I'm trying to teach in the classroom. I'm a teacher. I'm trying to effectively teach in the classroom to a whole host of kids in the classroom, and then teach to students at home at the same time. It was a modality of instruction that didn't work last year. When you talk to teachers, it was the biggest difficulty, I think, of last year teaching. So what I would like to advocate for is to take some of the COVID relief funds. I think the district, and I know, Mike, I sent you that from the DOE. I think it's 1.3 million that is coming into the district, and take some of that, not all of them, a lot of that money has to go to upgrading the HVAC systems and repairing ventilation. I get that. But some of that towards possibly hiring remote teachers or making it work, because I know last year we said, why can't we have remote teachers in the classroom teachers? And you said, well, then the balance isn't going to be there and would have to maybe hire teachers or part-time or whatever. But I would recommend that we try to have remote instruction teachers if we do go back to that, where a lot of kids are at home receiving instruction remotely and a lot are in the classroom, because it's just really, really nearly impossible for a teacher to successfully offer instruction when you're trying to juggle both of that. It's really hard, and I want to thank member that spoke on behalf of teachers. Thank you. We work really hard. We love working here. And by the way, and I know, Mike, you didn't mean it like this, but when you said some of the teachers we want to be in school. We did last year, but particularly this year, where if you want to be vaccinated, you're vaccinated. So I think teachers feel comfortable returning to the classroom, but it's really difficult to do both things at one time. And I just would like the board to consider having remote instructors this year, if in fact we do go back, offer remote instruction for a lot of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I just don't understand. If your child is vaccinated and you want them to, and you prefer them to wear a mask, why you as a parent can't make that decision for your child and go, why does it have to be all the students wear masks? If your child is vaccinated, you want your child to wear a mask, your child will wear a mask and they're vaccinated, send them to school that way. If you're a parent and you don't believe your child, why does it have to be like a one size fits all type thing? And if they're vaccinated and some believe the masks work, when you're wearing the mask, the child is wearing the mask to protect themselves. I mean,
I think to the point
just
that was
don't
made earlier, the effectiveness of the mask, based on the research I've read, is not for the wearer as much as the speaker. So what it does is it captures the particles at the mouth and does not allow them to get into the air. So
Right.
that's the challenge that we.
So does that mean
That's
teachers
the
have to wear
challenge
masks?
that we have right now, is that it's that filter on the person. So now you could have somebody,
child with N95 mask.
not necessarily.
Yeah, it's proven.
That's not what I've read in the research. That's
Guys,
not what
we
I've
can't
read.
have it. This is not an open conversation. We need to move on so that we can
But those are I'm
see
just
the
asking,
presentation.
If you want to protect your child and they're vaccinated and you want to send them to school with an N95 mask, then your child would be protected. Why does all children? I guess I don't understand why we're having the conversation.
That's what I said at the beginning. We should have this conversation after we see the plan.
All right, Brian, we'll give you one.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'll tell you that if
We're still
my
arguing it.
child,
No.
if any-
Okay. I'm sorry. We've got to move on. We're not, like we've said, we're not medical experts, but I
It
encourage.
gave us stuff to think
Right, so
about,
you
though.
just prove
Yeah.
I
a
have
point,
more.
though.
I have more
You're not a
questions
medical
now.
expert to tell me that my child has to wear a mask. So you just admit you're not a
Okay.
medical expert.
No, and I'm not telling you what your child needs to. I'm sorry. No, what I meant to say was we have all done our own research.
You're not a medical expert.
No, I'm not a medical expert. I'm a teacher and an educator. And I work for all of the students in this district and keep their best interest at mind. All right. Should we go into that presentation at this point?
So we actually moved it to after my comments and the
Yeah,
board, but
okay.
you can move it now if you wish. You're the
Might as well
chair.
just roll right into it.
Okay, so let me switch gears.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hang on, we didn't move it in the agenda. I gotta find it. All right, so the current situation update. Just to recap for everybody, we have finished our summer school. We've actually had very successful time in summer school this year, and we're now gearing up for the start of the school year. If you look at what is going on, and we have looked at the numbers, we are in a substantial spread scenario. All parts of New Hampshire are now in the red zone. Based on the guidance, I think people speaking tonight have highlighted Delta as a concern. And that's obviously the variant that has taken hold. And it is as we all know, it is a more rapidly spreading form of the coronavirus. So that's our current situation and what we have out there. In looking at the reopening guidance,
And I just wanted to say too, this has been posted on our website on, if you go on your laptop under the coronavirus updates tab, it's a yellow tab on the side. And this has been posted there since we started talking about it back in
This is
June.
the August 11th post.
This is, well, it was just updated today. So as we update it and as we get more information and guidance from the state, we've updated this draft as well.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So this was first shared with the board back in June. It was emailed to every parent in the district back in June. At the time, it was titled version 1.0 because it was our first attempt to articulate what we thought was going to happen. And I have been very clear with the community and the board from the beginning that we're going to wait until August because the situation is evolving and we need to continue to monitor it. We do believe in making local data-driven decisions. And so it's important that we wait until we're closer to the start of school to see what that current situation is. So a couple of things here in the plan. You'll see that it talks about our key instructional strategies. So basically, we are committed to in-person learning. We do believe that that is better than remote learning for most students, and that we will continue to offer highly engaging direct instruction as our primary means of teaching and learning. We did it successfully last year for 80%, 75% plus of our students, and I think that that's a hallmark of what we're setting out to do this year. We have commented on remote instruction. Notice that we say when properly designed and resourced, will continue to have a role for some students. While we recognize that situations are rare, the district will allow remote instruction when school-based teams have determined that it is in a student's best interest due to medical necessity. Those school-based teams also have to determine the resources to do it. I appreciate the LEA president's input about hiring staff, but right now, Patrick, we have 6 openings for regular classroom teachers. And, you know, the idea that we're just going to have additional remote teachers is a little bit beyond what I think we're capable of doing for the start of school. So our intent is to work at the school level and to make the right decision. Our staff always makes the right decision for individual kiddos. There's never been a severely ill child in the past who we haven't been able to figure out how to educate. And I'm confident that we'll continue to do that, but those will be rare situations. We're not going to go back to the Truman Show with the camera in every classroom. Okay, so
You mean like Skype?
we're not
No,
talking about
asynchronous.
having the blended synchronous model
Yeah,
for all
too much.
classrooms, right?
What about having
So-
like Skype? So the child who has to be at home
Because of illness.
Leanne, can I just get through the
I'm
presentation
sorry.
at this point? Yeah, that's okay. So that's sort of where we stand relative to remote. We also are fully committed to Google Classroom. Our staff now are really have become experts in how to use it, and that's not going away. So we expect that that will continue as our learning management system. So even the child who is isolating or is ill, the information will be available to them in Google Classroom because that's the learning platform that we have adopted and are using at all times. So that's far different than the old days of sending a packet home or somebody having to swing by the school to pick up a packet because it's all digital and electronic and available. So all of these things are things that are enhanced as a result of the experience that we've had with the pandemic. We are committed to the emotional and physical well-being of our staff and students, and we're going to keep emphasizing that and making sure that there's equitable access to the support services, including mental health and instructional interventions. We've gotten so much better as a result of the pandemic in the way that we deliver, and I think that will continue into the future. And we also want to include and actively support collaborative planning time. So with the new schedule at the middle school, and a return to the schedule at the high school, we know that our staff have the time to work together on instructional goals that are better able to meet students' needs, and working collaboratively on the assessment practices are better able to meet students' needs. So a lot of positive things there. For mitigation strategies, you'll notice that here's something that is different from version 1.0 and version 2.0, and those are the links that are in there. So we now have the link for the most up-to-date information from the CDC, and also the link to the August 11th document from the New Hampshire Department of Public Health. So those links have been livened up for you. Data, we're going to examine local and state data points to help us stay ahead of the curve. We never put all our eggs in one basket. Last year, we never said there's one single data point and we're reacting to that. We were constantly triangulating, hovering above what we were looking at, and then trying to make the best decision on the data. So we will continue to do that going forward. You'll notice that personal responsibility has been a hallmark of what we've been doing. We believe in that. We are asking that our families continue to do the daily health screening. We're not going to be a district that has somebody punching that into, in order for kids to come into school, it has to be entered into pickup patrol, for example. I had to do it every single morning, and I was the negligent parent. I get a call from my wife saying, "Did you do the pickup patrol?" Nope, forgot. But I have to answer the questions. They don't have a temperature. They don't have a cough. They haven't traveled internationally, etc. We don't want to be a district that does that. We want to be a district that trusts our parents to do the right thing. But we're going to clearly communicate what those are. And notice with the daily health screening, we are going to ask our school nurses to periodically check temperatures of staff and students. Quite frankly, a fever could spike during the day. It may be related to COVID. It may not be. But periodic checks with a temperature scan on the forehead, non-contact, is not a bad practice for us to have to try to keep everybody healthy. Physical distancing. We now know that where all the studies have come, we started off with 6 foot of physical distancing, and now we've brought it down to 3 foot nose to nose. That's the new standard that we're following. So Tina and I right now make 3 feet nose to, don't turn your head, but we make 3 feet nose to nose. That is very eye-opening when it comes to decisions relative to eating in the cafeteria and so forth. And we're going to continue to try to maintain physical distancing as much as possible. Masks. Here's the statement. Masks have proven to be effective in preventing the spread of airborne pathogens. We're going to use the masking. We will use masking when deemed appropriate by NHDHHS guidance, currently listed on pages 5 and 6 of the school toolkit. I'm now going to open it so that everybody can see what we're talking about. So in the toolkit, and again, look here, it's the August 11th issue by the New Hampshire Department of Public.
Mike, can you make that larger?
Yes,
No, just because we don't have to see the side pages, but I
know.
Yeah.
This is
I don't know.
so when I don't have my cheater glasses, this is what I do at my
What are you
desk.
trying to
Liz,
say?
it's
I have
linked
my
in-
cheater glasses
Liz,
on.
it's linked in the agenda.
Yeah, but I'd rather watch it here with you.
Not me.
Looks better on the big
Right,
screen.
right here.
Yeah, it
And again,
does.
for anyone following along at home or here, it's under the coronavirus updates tab on the district webpage.
So basically, looking at their strategies, they want us to plan and communicate with our community. I think we did a lot of community outreach and communication last year. We intend to continue it. The second thing is promote vaccinations. We have held vaccination clinics, sponsored vaccination clinics in concert with Hudson, and we have promoted that. And I'm a big believer that people who are capable of getting a vaccine, i.e. 12 and over, have that personal responsibility to make their choice and then to live with the result of the choice that they make. 3, use face masks wisely. So it talks about communicating the 2 important purposes: protect the person wearing the face mask and prevent the spread of COVID-19 from the person wearing a face mask to others. So they're clearly delineating that it does 2 things. The effectiveness of one is more than the other, I believe. And I think the source control, number 2, which is preventing particles from getting out, is the more important aspect of it. Schools and childcare programs can recommend or require face masks. So we're given the ability by the state to do that. And we should decide based on community input, which I think we're receiving a lot of, what the best course is for Litchfield. Taking a look at the level of community transmission reported at the county level, with the cities of Manchester and Nashua separated out, as I explained earlier. So it's Hillsborough County minus those 2 cities. The number of cases of COVID-19 within the schools, and whether we have any clusters or outbreaks within our school, our ability to implement other prevention strategies. So for example, are we able to keep the physical distancing? If we achieve 6 feet, that's very different than if we are only able to achieve 3 feet nose to nose. So we have to look at all of those factors. I will tell you, our classrooms are fairly crowded, especially at Griffin. which is the school where there's no access to vaccine by students. And the level of COVID-19 vaccination within our school population. And, we should be getting 80% of the population vaccinated. We're not there, but those are the things that they've asked us to look at. Face masks are not recommended in most outdoor locations. So right now, when it comes to after-school athletics, we are not recommending face masks to be worn. The only time that would be accepted is if we were playing a school that had a mask mandate. Our athletes will only play yours if your athletes are masked. Then we would comply with the more restrictive school request.
That happened last year.
It did.
It did happen last year in boys sports.
But we will not be asking visiting teams to us to mask up.
Right.
Will you be limiting how many parents can go?
We will not be limiting attendance. The only conversation that we've had is volleyball because it's indoors at the gym. And so we haven't sorted that one out yet. But outdoor, we're not putting any limit on who can attend. And we recommending face masks for anybody who desires maximum protection for themselves or others. So if they've not been fully vaccinated, have a weakened immune system, want to protect a household member, because remember, in some cases, there could be a medically fragile adult at home or sibling at home. And so we are recommending face masks. And, I will tell you, I have been wearing a face mask. I wore a face mask 2 out of 3 days this week. And I did it because I'm trying to role model. I don't want the kid with a face mask to be the weird kid. And I think that if what I can do as the leader of the building is to wear a face mask to say, this is okay. I can make this choice and I shouldn't be criticized
What
for
about
that
the kid
choice,
that doesn't
right?
wear a face mask? How does that?
That's okay too. But what I don't want, because I
Is it
do
gonna be
believe that
okay?
the minority of students will be the ones wearing the mask. I think it'll be fewer than required, right? So I just am saying, let's make sure that people feel comfortable wearing a mask if that's what they want to do.
That's impressive.
It's
that you're
okay.
Doing that for those kids really scared. I have to give you this. But some parents and some kids don't want to.
Yep.
You see it everywhere.
And you'll notice it also says that masks are required to be worn on school buses and other forms of public transport. That federal order was set to expire on September 13th. It's now been extended to January something. I don't know the exact date, but at least the first half of the year, the federal mandate for masking on buses will be in play.
It falls under almost like the TSA, like the airports are requiring. It's the same federal law.
So then the state has put forth this decision matrix, and you'll see at the top, it says level of community transmission. And I think they have purposely left the word community because it's something that we have to exercise as a team. So what does that mean? What's the local community? What's the county community? What's the state community? Just so that we can have a dialogue about where we are on this when it is minimal, moderate, or substantial. And that's the way the state reports it out on their website. We then take a look at what is happening within our facilities. I would encourage us to think of 3 distinct buildings and 3 distinct educational communities where what we do in one community may differ from another. What we do in one school may differ from another, depending on what the situation is. Last year, we had cases that erupted at Griffin. We didn't close Campbell. We kept Campbell going, right? So we treated the situation at Griffin as a distinct situation that was occurring. And I believe that that's how this matrix is set up. When the cases are sporadic and that there is no evidence of facility transmission. So, last year we had the student who was on a hockey team and may have been exposed. And so that was an outside of school piece. We could say, okay, that wasn't something that occurred in school. So, there's not facility transmission. But if it was a situation that took place in a classroom, it is facility transmission. So we're going to take a look at those things. A single cluster, a cluster is 3 or more cases that are related. So if we could say that I had COVID and gave it to Tina, who gave it to Corey, we now have the 3 related cases, and we're going to take a look at that. That's obviously a concern because it's then spreading within that cluster.
Are kids still being clustered this year? Cohorted? So
we're cohorting is one of our strategies that we're trying, but it's different this year, Tara. So for example, at the high school, by returning back to the AB block schedule, we're not cohorted in the same way as we were in the 4x4. So when students only had 4 classes, they were mixing up 4 times a day. Now they're mixing up 8 times a day, or every other day when you're doing a 48-hour look back period, right? So so the cohorts
Still clustering at elementary, but the other 2 schools.
So the cohorts have expanded there. At the middle school, they are keeping the cohorts tighter the way they had in the past
Grade.
by grade
Still
and
large.
the way the students move. So I guess in the past when they moved between the cores, they would mix up a little bit, and now they're sort of traveling a little bit more closely together. So they're trying to keep some things in place. But that word cluster is a little different. That cluster is referring to 3 or more cases related. So we could be in 3 different cohorts, but somehow we have a cluster that is broken. It's linked. Like maybe we sit together on the bus and that's how it spread. I don't know. And then the last thing is when you have multiple clusters or a larger outbreak. So 3 or more clusters is an outbreak. That would be 9 children with COVID. That's a high number. If you look at our numbers from last year, that's a problem. And so you'll see that when you get,
Did it happen any time last year?
did what happen?
More than 9.
kids in
It did not.
Oh, that's
But-
that's amazing.
If that were to be a situation that were to happen, then you can see they're recommending universal masking. So that red zone. So the tier is that you need to enter into the red. But you're talking 9 or more. We had 20 total at one school. So, the idea that there are 9 active cases at once, there's a big problem and we would need to take steps, right? So our goal is to be in the minimal level with optional masking at most times. And at the moderate level, we would still say optional. This is recommending universal when you get into the substantial, which is currently where we are. So this would be advising us. The recommendation is that we open with masking in place universally because we're in a substantial spread. But that's a recommendation. And then I think what our team has to do is take that recommendation and say, what are we seeing happening? Then remember, that's only if there are sporadic cases. We would want to take that recommendation, filter it down to the local level, and then decide what the right thing to do is for us. They're using the phrase targeted as sort of that second tier, the cautionary tier. And I think we have phrased that as sort of strongly recommended. So I think targeted, they're using the word because they want us to be a little bit more directive to say, mask in this scenario, but not in that one.
Are we only counting the population under 18? Are we counting the 66-year-old with asthma in our counts? Do you know what I mean? Like, are we only doing children? I'm just asking a question because I'm sure some of, like, are we taking like a 66-year-old who has asthma that didn't get a vaccine or whatever? He's part of the thing. So
Because that's community transmission.
no, so, you're not that
I'm
old.
not, I hope it's not me, please.
No, but
I don't know if they have the data down to that
Oh,
level.
I was
mean,
just
when I look
curious.
at the map, it's just everybody. If they had it, maybe we would.
Well, even hospitalizations of children, I saw the, yeah.
Actually, most of the cases now aren't in those age groups because they've been vaccinated. So we're seeing,
The ones in the hospital are that age group, 18 and above.
right, we're seeing a lot more cases in younger people that have not been vaccinated.
The largest uptick in cases are under 50. So again, they're I mean, I guess 50 is
I'm out.
old. I don't know, but they're framing it there because that's in the past that was not the cases. But
Right.
that's where they're currently concentrated because
No, I was
of
just
vaccine.
curious
Yeah.
because I tried to look for numbers.
So, Mike, Bedford was held up as an example a few minutes ago, and I'm curious if you think that they are following this model, because I do. I read the headline in the Union Leader today, and then I read the whole article, and the very last sentence of the article said, mask recommendations will be revisited throughout the year, and masks may be required under certain settings, including if COVID-19 clusters or outbreaks occur. So that to me says they're following this. They're just, they're starting with a no mask.
Yeah, I think so. Here's what I'm seeing from other districts, and there are districts that have voted to start with masks because they're basically landing in that substantial spread right now. So they're still following this guidance, and they're just landing at that point. My own district, the board, boy, it was a back and forth meeting, and in the end, they muddled. It got so muddled that now they have to have an emergency meeting next Monday. That they've moved to the high school gym, and they're going to try to clarify their stance because the wording of it is so. Again, in that case, the board voted on it and didn't leave it in the hands of the administrators to make the decision. And the wording, you could read it two ways. And one way is masking mandate, and the other is no way is there a masking mandate. It's all the way it got worded. And I think I know what, because I was in the meeting, I think I know what they intended, but you can't tell by reading it. And it's caused a major outrage in that community. So, so again, I see this as a guide. Notice it's called a decision matrix. It's guardrails. It tells us this is what we think should be going on. And really, to me, the idea of masking is to calm things back down so you get back into the green. It's sort of like we've hit some turbulence here. Let's buckle up, be safe with it, and then when things have calmed back down, we can get back into the optional piece. And again, I don't see that as a all or nothing. The kids will have their mask on the bus because they have to. If they take it off to walk outdoors and they come in, we'll be flexible with it until we know exactly what the expectation is based on what we're seeing. So, this document is many, many pages long. I'd encourage you to read through it. It talks about physical distancing. It talks about cohorting. It came up earlier in the presentation about screening, so I just want to address that. We are not going to be advocating for the school to be testing COVID cases. I will tell you that there's tons of grant money available to schools to provide testing at parent option is as far as I would go. So a nurse calls up and says, hey, we think Johnny's running a fever. You need to come get him. And by the way, we can, you can take him to go get a COVID test, or with your permission, we could conduct a rapid test here. And I think what'll happen is some parents will say, go ahead and do the test, save me the trip. And if it's a convenience and it makes it easier for people, we'll do that. Another parent may say, don't test my kid, not a problem. But now they can't return back to school until the fever is broken and blah, 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 right? So parent choice on what to do with it. If we can provide it as a service.
And we're still quarantining the kids around COVID, boy or girl. Those kids are going to have to be quarantined
So
too.
the new
just
quarantining.
Well, if there's no test, how do you know they have COVID?
So
Could be an ear infection.
the new guidance on it is a major reduction in the amount of quarantining.
Oh, okay.
There'll be a major reduction in that because it's talking about quarantining for household exposure, but it does not talk about quarantining for school-based exposure. So there'll be way fewer kids quarantined as a result of possible exposure at school. But I do think that if we can provide the service for those families who choose it, it could be helpful for them. It would be no cost. It would be something that we could participate in, but completely voluntary, no mandatory testing. And you may hear of, there are some districts that have done what's called pool testing. So everybody in the classroom gets picked at random. Everybody does the nose swab, drops it in one big bucket, and they test it and they say, okay, that classroom is clear. Or they come back and they say, somebody in that classroom has it, right?
Please don't go down that path, my friend.
I'm telling you right now,
I will
I'm not,
fight
Leanne, look at me. I'm not going down that path. We're not going to fight over this.
Please, dear God.
Because the last thing I want is, hey, somebody in the 24 is no, I don't see any benefit that would come from pool testing.
I just want to stress that there have been reports that state that many of the PCR tests are not 100% valid because of whatever, okay? And if a person had COVID 14 days ago, they may still test positive.
That's true.
But according to the CDC guidelines, we can send them back to school anyways, which is fine. I mean, it's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not.
I wouldn't want testing because if my kid had COVID like 3 weeks ago,
Do you support parent choice in testing?
absolutely.
We're on the same page.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So
Thank you.
that's where we are with what this guidance is saying. And then there is the, stay home when sick and get tested, increase ventilation. That's why we're investing in our ventilation systems. That's the best thing we can do, by the way. Bringing the fresh air in, that's our safety measure. We'll keep up the hand hygiene and the respiratory etiquette, sneezing into the elbow, et cetera. We have to teach those things to kids.
Right.
Clean and disinfect. That's another key strategy. Contact tracing, isolation, and quarantining. So our teams are ready to stay on top of all of this stuff. So there you have it. Let me come back to the reopening plan here. You'll notice that we have hand washing and sanitation, effective communication, vaccines, facilities, keeping everything cleaned up. And we're going to continue to limit visitors. And we have asked that our visitors continue to be vaccinated. I think that that's a control point that we do make. There are plenty of visitors and volunteers in the building who can show that they are in fact vaccinated. And we'll keep using funds to work on our ventilation system. So that's what's in the plans, folks. And happy to turn it back over to you.
Can you just?
I have lots of questions.
Can you just go back to the chart again as far as green, and you can just give the numbers again when we get out of when we go to universal.
So if there are sporadic cases in our facility, so day one, we don't know what we have in our facility because people have been on vacation all summer. So I would say that we would have to say we're at sporadic because we just don't have knowledge of it. But if there is substantial spread in the community, we would be looking at universal masking.
So what is substantial?
What is substantial spread?
So substantial spread is, hang on, let me get that for you.
And I want to know what 50 plus people who are 50 years and older have to do with our children wearing masks.
Yes.
Some of those 50-year-olds are parents of kids in school.
Some of those are grandparents
Yeah.
that are.
But
seeing
they
their
could be
grandkids.
vaccinated.
They could be.
They could be, but if they aren't, I mean,
Then my kid has to
They-
wear a mask because a 50-plus-year-old decides not to get vaccinated.
Not just because of that.
I'm sorry. I'm not Italian like you. No,
A vaccination doesn't mean someone can't carry or spread.
this is going to go on forever.
Yeah.
yeah.
I wish I didn't get my kid vaccinated now.
Why is he growing that third arm yet?
What?
Has he already grown his third arm?
What?
Has he already grown his third arm?
What the heck is this thing?
Well, if he had to wear a mask anyway, why did I bother? And parents still have choices. The people of this town want the choice for
So-
their own children.
Brian,
We're not listening. I'm sorry. We're not listening to people.
So Brian, to answer the question, this is the dashboard. It's the COVID-19 dashboard put out by the state. For some reason, the link is broken in our internal dashboard, but that's fine. It goes
Yeah.
here. Important to take look at where we are on August 17th of 21. You can compare it back to August 17th of, can I? Yes, almost. August 17th last year. So when we opened with the protocols that we had in place, we were at a much lower level than where we are right now. We're on that uptick. Just important to point that out. And then if you look at,
Is it the more the Delta that they're talking about?
Yes.
So how can they split the Delta versus how they
There is
can,
way too many variables.
how can they test the test and they can design, oh, this is a Delta. There's not a different test for it.
There is.
there is.
There is a
There
different
is.
test.
Oh, when I actually got my child tested, it was just COVID.
Right.
That's
They
it.
they send a selection of the test results. I think positive test results
They can't even get the PCR test right.
for further
They can
test.
determine the delta. How do we know it's not the
I'm trying-
epsilon?
I'm trying to tell you.
Sorry.
They send a sample of the positive test on to be genetically sequenced to see if it's one of the variants of
My child
interest.
wasn't.
Okay, right.
It was positive or negative.
Right, and that's the result that you received. You don't necessarily receive the information about what variant it is. It goes into the statistical analysis for For the
that nobody can
for
see
this
except for them.
Then they
I'm not
publish.
anti-mask. I think parents should have a choice to mask their kids or not.
It's okay. I was trying to answer the question. It's used in statistics in epidemiology to determine what is the most prominent variant out there right now.
Okay.
And right now, Delta is 90% of the positive cases that we're
That's
seeing
good to know,
in New
but do you
Hampshire.
understand that the variant, yes, it's more contagious, everybody I think can agree on that, but far less.
We're
Far
still,
less
data
what?
is still out on that.
I didn't hear far less
Far
what?
less harmful.
Harmful.
So what's our next step? Do we vote? Do we talk about it more?
So no
Then we get
numbers.
public input
Let me
again?
answer
Yeah.
Brian's question.
Okay.
So I have it here, right? So when you're on this, you can click on the school tab, and then it brings you
I
to
have it here.
the website linked to the
This.
schools itself. You can search by district, search by town. And when you do that, it comes up with what is the level of transmission in the town. It's substantial. They're saying that that's based on the 194.7 new cases per 100,000 people over the last 14 days. And you can see when I clicked on it because it tells you that if it's greater than 100, it is substantial. It's almost twice greater than 100, right? So that's why it's in red.
That's all of Hillsborough, right?
This is
Except for Nashua and Manchester.
exactly because again, here's the county map, and you can see Nashua is this carve out right here, and Manchester would be a carve out kind of up in this direction. So they're pointing to our schools. So there's the high school, and then the middle school and elementary are right next to each other. So they look like one dot. They're really
So this is
two
just the community, not the students, because we haven't had.
We don't have it yet. We don't have a school
dots. Right. So you'll notice that the active cases in our schools is 0. They tell you the number of recovered cases and when they were last reported. We haven't had a case since May. That makes sense, right? Because we haven't been in person
Yeah,
Oh, the kids.
in the
yeah.
school, in the
Okay,
school.
got it.
And the 7-day positivity rate in the county is 6.7. That's moderate. That's why it's in yellow. So it's between 5 and 10%. And again, that's a county-based number, right? So that's what we use. If we're trying to get to the town level, you have to drill deeper into it. Does that answer your question, Brian?
It does. So according to the numbers right now, we're at substantial.
Correct.
And that's 7 positivity cases?
13,
Oh, 13. Gotcha.
8,800 and something.
8,800 people in Litchfield?
No, that is for Hillsborough County,
Correct.
and it's the rate per 100,000 people. So each county, so that we can compare the numbers, because some counties have a lot of people and some counties don't have fewer people. They change the ratio to be the number of cases per 100,000 people. So that rate, for a small town like ours, even having 13 people, if you extrapolate it out to per 100,000 people, it might be a higher rate.
And does it say how many are in the hospital?
We don't know.
It does on the state dashboard.
When you're talking about putting masks on our children, I'd like to know who those 13 people are. We're making the decision based
Right.
off of, are they 55? Do they have kids in the school? That matters. It does matter.
You're not basing on 13 people.
Right.
In Litchfield, that's how we
No,
do it.
No.
You're
The
basing on the county.
County.
and it's county, so wait,
Yes.
13 people in the county?
Yeah, we could base it on Litchfield if there was. I know we joke about the force field around Litchfield, but if nobody ever left town and was never exposed to any other towns around us, we could count just on Litchfield people. But
So there's 13 total cases in our county.
no,
No.
there are
In our
13
county.
cases in Litchfield. How many cases in our county?
27?
In our county?
Yeah.
Well, so they standardize it per 100,000. That's
Yeah.
why they give that 194.7.
Mhm.
We could calculate it, but that's not the way they report it.
So that's 0.002% of the town.
Again, you're not
But that's
you're not basing on the town.
2%.
In Litchfield.
Oh, in Litchfield.
Do you know how many teachers live in Litchfield that teach in Litchfield?
No.
Not many.
Okay.
Do you know how many teachers live in Manchester, Nashua,
same.
that teach in Litchfield? Many.
Okay.
That's why you have to look at a broader picture. You can't just look at Litchfield.
I
People
know.
leave
That's
Litchfield.
a very, very small percentage. It's just like they mix Cal, Cal-T, and it's,
I mean,
it gets confusing.
So,
but
Where
Do
our
you-
kids go out right now, like, even though it's
Do you-
Can I ask a clarification question? So what is the purpose of today? What do you need from us? What is the goal
to ask the
going
same
forward? Because I think we've had community input. We've continued to hear questions, which is great. I like communicating with everyone and I think we should. However, we've had that input. We need to have a chance to debate it, I think, amongst ourselves. And then I don't know, what is the purpose? What's the next step?
So this is what I'm looking for. Version 3.0,
Yes.
which has been refined over 1.0 and 2.0, is our reopening plan. So I'm looking for the board's support that our reopening plan has considered all the possibilities and that the data-informed metrics that we're going to use as an admin team to make the decisions are the right metrics, that we're looking at the right thing. I'm looking for support that we're being flexible but not overreactive, and that we're trying to keep our schools open. You know, if I say at Griffin we're going to have masks on because our team has come up with this is the best thing we need to do given the current situation, it's because we want Griffin to be open tomorrow and next week. And I'm looking for the board to back us up that we're making the right decision on those.
So
on those
as of
things.
today, they would all be masked because it's substantial spread.
As of today, because it's substantial, because it's more than just that though, Liz. It's a school where no child has access to a vaccine because
Okay.
they're all under 12.
Are we talking just GMS right now?
Yeah, Griffin.
Well, we'd make a determination for each school is what
Well,
I'm
But
hearing
according
you
to,
say.
Yeah,
that's
but-
what I'm trying to get clarification on, because last meeting, we looked at all three schools differently.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make
I
is
think we
that
need to.
when it said or school-based, that we would be making a decision. So it's not firm and fast. Griffin, where no child has access to a vaccine, is different than the middle school where half the children have access to a vaccine, is different from Campbell where
Right, but
all
what-
of the children
I guess
have
what I'm
access.
asking then for clarification, what are we utilizing numbers wise, say for the middle school and high school? Because the high school right now would still be substantial, correct?
Right. The chart looks like it's treated all the same.
And we would be making the call based upon what the conditions are in that school. So we could be making a different call at Campbell.
But
The chart, I do not believe is a be all end all. I don't think it says because we're red, everybody in Litchfield has to have a mask on. I don't take
Looks
it that
like
way.
it.
Well, that's what it looks like.
I think that's what the guardrails are, but I think our team has to have the flexibility to decide what are we seeing at the community level and what's the right decision based school by school is the point I'm trying to make to them.
But you have no.
Madam Chair, can I ask the audience to be quiet, please? You've had an opportunity for public input. Right now, we're having a discussion.
Sorry.
There's another public input later on that you can jump in then.
I, as a teacher, understand both parts. I was in the classroom all last year. I wore my mask. I did my thing. I have the option in my district to wear a mask, but now I'm concerned because a parent who spoke earlier said her child will not be in my class because I'm not wearing a mask. To me, my students couldn't understand me. They couldn't see me. They couldn't understand. I work with special ed kids. They couldn't see my expressions. I couldn't project my voice. I couldn't do anything. This is a whole different thing. If we're not wearing masks, are we going to have kids are going to have to switch classrooms if teachers don't have to wear masks?
I think it's something that teachers and parents need to work out on an individual basis.
Well, that's what I think they should do with masks. I think a parent knows their child. This is my personal opinion. I'm not passing judgment. I'm not anti-mask. I think we are not doctors. I think personally that every parent knows their child and how they can react to masks and how they mentally, kids are exhausted. And I know we have very different opinions on this board and I respect everyone and I won't raise my voice unless I'm called out. And I think parents should have the choice. And I'm just going to leave it with that before my blood pressure goes up again. And my hands are on my legs.
So Liz, Liz,
I
can
know,
ask
I'm
you-
all Irish.
Can I ask you, so does that mean you are in favor of this draft plan or?
I don't understand the draft plan still.
So
Do
I,
you?
I think what's
Liz, I
confusing,
wanna make
Mike,
sure
is
I'm-
the red is all
way
red
down.
under substantial. So it does not delineate, that right
Right.
side to me, I look at that and say, anytime the county is red,
We're wearing masks.
regardless
Yep.
of school, of the case input within the facility, regardless of school impact, the schools are wearing masks. But what I just heard you say is that might not be the case, and I
That's-
would like to understand that.
That's
Yes,
the
thank you.
guidance, right? But remember, the state has put this out to every single school, including the dilemma I'm dealing with, which is kids who have no access to a vaccine and kids who have access. So they're saying, here's the best practice. The CDC has said children going to school should be masked. Governors in some places have said, we don't care, you can't do it. It's a mess,
So
right? And
I
so what
completely
I'm-
agree with that, but our reopening plan 3.0, if you go back to that, says we will use the masking when deemed appropriate by the NHDHS guidelines. So that's what the guideline says. So if I'm a parent and I'm trying to figure out whether my kid's supposed to be wearing a mask, I'm going to go to this chart. I'm going to look and see if we're substantial. And I'm going to say, okay, my kid's got to wear a mask today. Or
Right.
you're going to put it out in an email.
I think there has to be an emphasis on local conditions.
And that's the
Really
point that I'm
do.
trying to make, is that when they put this chart out, they're doing a one size fits all recommendation.
But I think it's important too that parents have something that they can refer to, so we know when that switch is going to happen. You know, or the communication comes out and says these conditions warrant this change, because that going back and forth, I think, and flip flopping, and it adds a lot of confusion and stress to parents and kids. So I'd like to have something that is, you know, yes, flexibility and built in the flexibility, but I'd like to see, you know, this is the plan, we stick to it.
So can I make a suggestion? A couple of suggestions?
I'm all ears.
That top right, can that be yellow?
Yes.
Sporadic.
Yes.
Yep.
So substantial but sporadic cases locally, could that be yellow? And could yellow mean, and this part may not be as popular, but could yellow mean K through 6? It's targeted to K through 6, which is right now the population that cannot be vaccinated. So we are targeting a mandatory mask to those yellow ones, but 7 and higher who are I wouldn't even say vaccinated. They have the option. So if they choose to, great. If they choose not to, that's their choice. But 7 through 12 would be optional. Is that there room for something like that?
Totally. So go back to what I had at the last meeting.
Mhm.
I abandoned it because this came out, but I
Right.
think I've added more confusion. You know,
Right.
I would
remember,
even
I wanna
argue the
incorporate
same
both.
yellow square would be down to the single cluster too, because if you have a single cluster, you're gonna what is the word again?
Mitigate.
Confine. What is it called?
Quarantine.
Isolate.
I don't know.
Isolate?
They're going to be out for what, 5 days or whatever. So I would argue the yellow should go down even to the second row.
It is on the second row.
So
No, on,
Oh,
under
the third
substantial.
column, Substantial.
Oh.
And targeted also means recommended.
So that's where I disagree
just
with
put
the
recommend.
recommend. I don't see a difference between I think you should wear a mask and I really, really, really think you should wear a mask. That to me, I don't know what that, I don't look at that. If I'm looking at a stoplight, I'm saying, okay, we're going to get our group that doesn't have the option to get vaccinated. And then the ones that do have the option, to me, that makes the difference. You have your choice. You can choose. And if you choose not to, bummer, but
Once
that's
they've
your
done it
choice.
At the yellow light.
Right.
instead of
They're
stop.
yellow.
Yeah,
Yield.
they've done it when they
Yield a
stop.
little. Well, don't run
And
a
I
red
do
light.
think, you know, and I do think with the data that's coming out about Delta, there is a vast difference in in the severity of disease in people that have been vaccinated and those that have not been vaccinated.
Right.
All right, so I just pulled up. I want to go back to this for a minute.
Yeah.
So this was the August 4th.
Right.
We were ahead of the release of something.
Mhm.
We were trying to come up with a plan. This is what we came up with.
Yeah, I got that one
right?
here.
Which was the level of community transmission. These definitions right here are from that matrix on the state. I didn't create them
Yep.
out of thin air. They come
The one
right
that
from
we-
that website.
Yeah.
So we define minimal, moderate, and substantial based on the 7-day positivity and the 100,000 cases over the last 14 days, right? And then we looked
Is
at
that for
the,
just Litchfield?
well, that's
No, that's the county.
the county
County.
data.
All right.
Because they don't, Brian, they don't give that per town.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I will just tell you, in talking with health officials in town, they have cautioned us against using it. I know we think we're a small town, but there's a high number of known cases that were not reported. Let's put it that way. So there's a reluctance to get tested that has shaded it. So they're suggesting,
everywhere.
but they're suggesting if you go to the county level, that's why the 100,000 is a better look because it mitigates some of that. Then we had the school impact, and look at our colors.
Right.
You like that better?
I do like
Yes.
that better.
Because-
The meaning
Except
of the
for yellow meaning K through 6. I don't understand the difference between, like I said, we recommend and we really, really, really recommend. I think to me that should be for as a parent of has 2 vaccinated children and one that is not vaccinated. I worry greatly for my 5th grader who right now at least doesn't have the option to be vaccinated, and I worry for all of the K through 6 students. And so if we are in a high impact and if we are in substantial, I think that is something we should consider, particularly for that age group. I may reassess this, and my opinion may change when and if the vaccine rolls out for that age group, and that could be something that we could talk about at that point.
Right.
But for me, I'd prefer the yellow, and I'd be interested in hearing the feedback on making that last column in the second row yellow as well that Tara suggested. What would be the thought process behind that? So if there's a cluster in a school is what I think that second level means, that medium.
One cluster.
And for school impact, or it could be as if there's a cluster amongst staff, because I believe we did have an issue with last year, the entire 4th grade team had to go out for quarantine for a period of time at one point. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that, if that should be red or yellow. I mean, obviously you thought red, but why?
You're talking this red here,
Yes.
Last call.
the this one, right?
Yep, that's the one.
So notice that we have the asterisk in that one.
Yep.
And it was red
Can't
only.
see it, but yep.
Yep. So the asterisk is there, and it's defined that it's only red when students don't have access to a vaccine.
No, it's
And that, I'm sorry, it's only red when they
Okay,
don't
right.
have access. It would be yellow at Campbell because all students have access to a vaccine. So that personal responsibility factor has come into play. And we had contemplated making 3 different charts, but the only difference between them was that box. And so we just did it as one box. And by the way, we didn't split the middle school between grades because you could have somebody who is, what did they tell me? We could have a 12-year-old 7th grader or an 11-year-old 7th grader. So you can't even say it's 7 and 8 and 5 and 6. It's too muddled.
We're doing it in
I
Hudson.
think we can. I think we should. I think we should separate 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th, no different than high school.
To me, I would say that if you're in the hallway during that time period, 7th and 8th can wear their masks getting to and from their classroom. But when they get there, to me, that can come off versus it when we're in that yellow zone versus 5th and 6th. I think we can split those hairs a little bit to make sure that that 5th and 6th grade is protected walking through the halls and whatnot.
So let me ask this question. If, so I do like the personal choice. Like this is where we're not even harping on it. It's, everybody does their thing.
I guess what my concern is right now is we're not there yet. We're not there.
We're not there, but I want to get the matrix right for when we get there, right? So the personal choice, personal responsibility, maybe yellow using the state language of targeted, which I think gets more to the point you're making, which is targeted. So because 7th and 8th graders, because we have younger children and siblings in the building, when you're passing between classes, you need to mask up. Then you're not talking, but once you get back in your classroom, you're safe to take the mask back off. So the targeted can become tailored to exactly what that situation is. I like that. And it's better than now we really, I didn't know what else to call it. Strongly recommended. We were trying to say, look, danger, danger. It's recommended that you put the mask on, but some people still won't do it.
But do you think it would be possible to find out people that are vaccinated, not to get personal name, and people that have natural immunity?
What we've done
What would be the percentage of the total of it? So if we have, example, 90% of people that are vaccinated in
right. I think I see what you're saying. I'm trying not to, it's not a public forum if it was, but I think what I hear you saying is that if we know what the vaccination rates are per school, we can inform our decisions. We have offered, our school nurses have reached out to parents at LMS and CHS and said, if you'd like to share your vaccination status and have your card on file, that helps us with contact tracing. But parents are not required, we're not going to be requiring parents to vaccinate or provide proof of vaccination.
But you're saying even if my child gets COVID, he's still going to have to quarantine, even if he has the vaccine.
Yeah.
Then why did I even send my thing into the school?
Because he's a lot less. Wait, what?
I don't understand why we're quarantining kids who've already been vaccinated because they can be
If
carriers.
they have COVID,
They can still
would
be-
Yeah.
They would still have to quarantine.
It's the
Right.
breakthrough
That's
cases
how
in
they
the
spread it.
CDC
Yeah.
guidelines. Yeah.
Okay, so going back to like the guidelines and the numbers. So we open Campbell tomorrow. They all have to wear masks?
No,
No.
because we don't have any cases.
If,
so
if
it would
we
be
open,
targeted,
okay, so now,
right?
But if we're going, because
So
we're
what
going by
I'm
the county
hearing
number
from
right
the
now, they're
board-
substantial.
It's
what
the
I'm
math
hearing from the
that's throwing
board is that
everybody
you
out.
like this better. Am I correct? That
Hearing
this
it
is
for
a,
me. I don't know. What
I know, that's why I'm
everybody else-
checking in. Because Brian, the answer would be if we're following the state guidelines as a decision rule,
Mhm.
like hard and fast,
Yeah.
we're in the red.
Mhm.
Master universal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking for more flexibility with it. This might be the way to get at it because then we'd be basing it on levels. If we change the substantial,
So we're not going to be looking at numbers then.
if we change yellow to targeted at Campbell, they would not be required yet. And at GMS,
They would.
They would.
oh no, they're still low. So it's still,
For GMS, but they're in
We're in
substantial.
substantial.
So GMS would have masks.
not if it's a low school impact.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
It's that
Heidi was
yellow
saying-
box.
Yeah, Heidi was saying the yellow is targeted and masks are targeted for GMS to grade 6 because they can't be vaccinated. So that's included in the targeted masking.
Got it. Yep.
So
Okay.
GMS and 5 and 6 would wear masks if today was the first day of school based on the substantial level. GMS and 5th and 6th would wear masks the first day. 7th and 8th would take them off when they get to their classroom, and high
Wear 'em-
school would
yeah.
not. It'd be optional.
Right. And they'd all have them on the bus. Got it.
It's so confusing. And
But
I'd
that's
like to
why I
think I'm
wanted-
a
It is
smart person.
confusing.
I'm getting that, but right now, we're substantial.
Right.
So
Which is this column.
Yep.
So
And we're assuming that it's low impact because it's the first day
can
of
you
school.
change those words?
Which words? Low?
Strongly recommended to make it targeted.
Yes, totally. This one I own. I can edit away. So
I guess I come back to, I think as parents, I think parents want something very clear that they can look to and not do so much of a, it feels like we should do more or less or this, it's less data. I want data points. I want some very clear data points. I think everybody does better with data points. Then there isn't a question mark. It's very clearly there. Now, again, I also think it's important to take into consideration that level of school impact. And one of the things that you talked about at the August 4th meeting was impact on staff. You're the one who will know, how you're doing with your sub list. And if you have enough subs to cover whatever it is you need to cover, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think there needs to be that, to me, falls under that school impact of low, medium, high. But I think for me, I do better with data. I want to be able to say, okay, here's where we are and check it off. And
So if we have 17 cases in Litchfield, that's what I want to see. If we have 40 cases of kids under 18, we can shut the schools down and go remote. That's what I want to see.
if we have 40 cases in kids, I mean, that's more than we had
And all
last
last
year.
year.
An actual number actually really helped, like you said.
I think a number.
But I think we are having a number by going by what the state rates are. Right.
Right. And the states have they have a level of school impact, but it's defined. I mean, and it's clearly defined, but it doesn't take into account the teacher effect.
We had a lot of times where we had staffing strained, critical staffing levels.
But our teachers, have chosen to get vaccinated or not vaccinated. So I'm hoping we don't have that problem this year.
Hopefully not,
Yeah.
but we still have how many openings?
Well, that's everywhere.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, hopefully that won't be the case and we won't have to close school at all, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, so I think I'm understanding the puzzle.
Okay.
Right now, all three schools are low impact,
Correct.
but we're up substantial.
Correct.
So-
Community.
Correct.
Right. So we're under targeted right now.
Yes.
At
All three-
GMS.
All
Targeted.
three schools.
So targeted means,
And then we could have that definition there that says targeted means K through 6 required, 7 to 8. I think you have to carve out and say masks in the hallway. And then I think CHS optional.
Okay, so then let's say we drop to, because we're low, let's drop the medium.
Yep. If we go up to medium, but the community transmission falls to moderate,
Right.
then we'd be still in that
Still in
yellow
that-
targeted. Yep.
And the teachers at GMS will have to wear masks as well, even though they may have or may not have been vaccinated. I'm just curious, because I'm sure they're wondering too. That's another variable. Do they have to wear masks, the teachers at GMS?
I think if we're asking the students.
We do not, there,
we haven't discussed that with
Yeah,
teachers.
No, I'm just,
question. I
yeah,
don't know.
I'm just
Actually,
throwing it out there.
I could see both sides of it.
Yeah.
Was that a fair,
I-
fair response? We
where,
haven't discussed
where
that.
I am with it is that it would be
Modeling.
individual choice.
Individual choice for the
And
teacher.
which means some will have them on and some
Some
won't.
won't.
Some
Which
will
is
wear them
fair.
at times, and I don't think we're in a required posture with staff. But, all right. So I guess a couple of things that, I mean, I was trying to keep our reopening plan to a one pager front and back. I don't think I'm going to be able to, because I think what we're going to do is refer to that, but then put this decision matrix, and this isn't right yet. And it's 7:00 at night. We've been
Yeah, we
going
gotta
since
go.
7:00 this morning.
Yeah.
So I can't develop this on the fly, but I got the gist of what the board wants.
Oh, I don't want this.
We have to
I
vote.
want
Well,
parent
we have-
choice.
I think that's what we need to
Tell me
Hang
it's
on, I
parent
think
choice.
I think I got a gist of what the majority of the board would like to look at.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do is work on this tomorrow and get it into a format that's clear, doesn't leave any gray areas, and we'll get it pushed out to the board in a final form so that you can.
So
I appreciate that, but I think
I think
families
we
need
need
to
to
know.
know.
We have to do a
What
vote
it is.
tonight. I mean, I think we have to do it based on what we understand it to mean, and you can clean it up tomorrow.
Got it.
But I think
but-
we need to vote tonight because it's already the 18th.
Yes.
School starts in 2 weeks. We've got to give people time, and
But you want it to be based on all the conversation. So basically.
that's what my choice would be. But I'm not
Well,
the whole board.
I know,
I'm
but you're
basing it on what parents want, and they want a choice.
taking
I'm
that
just throwing
chart
that out.
and inserting it into the other document is more or less where I think you are
So,
heading.
right.
So
Okay.
can we briefly do a round robin and see where everybody
So-
is?
Everyone knows where I am.
we open,
I'm out.
we open tomorrow. GMS and 5th and 6th have to wear masks.
And not staff if they don't want to.
I thought you were taking a vote on that.
We're just discussing what the table says at this point.
So the table says,
I just want to, just to jump on what Heidi was saying. I think back at last year, and I know that I, along with other board members, were adamant as far as getting the kids back in school. I also know that we were extremely cautious and wanted to make sure that we had done everything we could to make sure the staff was safe and the children were safe. And one of the things we did, aside from the cleanliness and everything else, was to mandate masks. Because we felt then, as I think a lot of people do and some don't, that masks help. I think they helped us stay open all of last year and maintain a much better education in person than not in person. And I'm not quite sure, and I've gone around circle with this, and I know like a few weeks back, I've been saying, that I think it should be people's choice. But I think for the fact that preschool through 6th grade cannot get vaccinated, they're the most vulnerable. So what can we do to have them best protected is to mandate masks. Until they can get vaccinated, until the younger kids can get vaccinated, I think it's the safest route.
Thank you, Brian.
I feel like at the elementary school level, we ought to at least give them a chance. In meaning that I think as long as we don't have, give them a chance to go without masks until we start seeing cases in the school. And that's kind of where I stand. I mean, and I think maybe they should be masked at the second level, but probably not at the first level for me. Let's give our town and our parents a chance to make this work. And then if we see evidence, then no.
So open the schools right now as if we're all low.
I would. But I do think also that I think that the high school, the kids should not be masked and the teachers should not be or it can be parent choice up until when we have multiple clusters. I
agree with that with the high school. And I agree with that with the 7th and 8th grade also.
Yeah.
Liz?
I agree with parent choice, PK through 12. And we can't make parents get their kids vaccinated. We might not even get 40% of our kids vaccinated at K through 6. Does that mean we're going to wear masks forever?
No, that's what I was saying. Grades 7 through 12 is different. They've had the opportunity to get vaccinated. If they don't want to, that's their choice. They can wear a mask if they don't want to. They can not wear a
Not
mask.
when it's high, it should be the parent's choice. We're 5 people making the decision for hundreds of parents.
We are.
We're not listening to what I'm listening to what I heard and what I got emails, and I'm just projecting that. I'm speaking for the other, like we've all had, I think we all speak for a segment of the community. And I agree with Tara.
Liz, you said you're listening to like correspondence and that. There was only like 25, 27 correspondents on this subject.
There were more than that.
No.
There were 2
There
more.
was 36 correspondents, but they weren't all on mask.
But I talked to
out of
people,
ni-
Brian.
Okay, but that's
outside.
9,000 people in town. 25 people.
Well, I say if they don't send an email, then they don't care either way. I think it,
disagree.
well, you know what, no matter what, I just think it's a parent choice to decide. And I agree with Tara, we should start with no mask and see what happens. And I agree, if we do get up to high or whatever, put the mask back on. It is what it is. I'm not
I don't have a problem starting
anti-mask.
like day one without masks, but I still think that it was part of our opening plan last year. And the reason being is we thought that was the safest route to go for the children.
Then it will never end. That is my personal opinion.
I
Just
mean,
saying.
there are countries that have been wearing masks forever.
Liz, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Heidi?
Well, I think that's
Heidi?
a religious
Yes, thank you. So I prepared a little statement just because I have been round and around on this. And I have to say, if I was asked to vote on this back in June or July, I think my vote would be very different than it is today. I have read every piece of correspondence that has come in. I have listened to every piece of community input. Anyone who sent a link, I have clicked on it and I have watched your video. I have watched and read the articles. I don't come to this decision lightly. And so that's why I'm saying this. I consider myself to try to be informed. I don't think this should be a unanimous vote. The Bedford vote was 3-2. And I think that our vote should not be unanimous either, because the town isn't unanimous on this. We're not all going to be unanimous on this. For me, I have really thought hard about this, and I understand where you're coming from, Tara, with the starting with no masks. My concern with that, and if we can address that, maybe I would be in favor of that, would be starting with no masks, but what happens if Litchfield gets higher, but we're still in substantial? When do we trigger, but it's not in the school? When do we trigger that? If we go down and then we move back, are you looking to make that one green, I guess is my question? That far right one on the top, low
Yes.
substantial would be green
Yep.
across the board. So if there's low
Exactly.
impact currently in school, it's green across the board. Okay. I would consider that. I would consider it. But my goal at this point is there's a large population that is not vaccinated, that preschool all the way to 6th grade. Probably for the first time in my life, you'll hear me say that I agree with Brian. All right, write it down. Where's the minutes? Put it in there. I do. I agree with Brian on this, and I really I feel like we have to, at least for now, while it's not an option to vaccinate that population, we have to be more careful. So I would vote to make that yellow targeted be that K through 6. I do think 7 and 8 should be treated differently. I don't think I understand that creates enforcement problems for the middle school, and I empathize with that. But I think we can do it as long as it's hallway traffic and they can take them off in the classroom. I think there are ways around that. I think at the end of the day, for me, the biggest factors in all of this is I have done a lot of the research, reading the increase of cases in children down south over the past 3 weeks, with there being 121,000 COVID cases, which is more than 14 times what there were in June for children. Hospitalizations reaching an all-time high for children. The fact that Litchfield was 1 to 4 2 weeks ago and now is at 13. I understand 13 is still a very low number, but if you exponentially look at that, that's a high increase in a short period of time. And I worry about where we're going. I'm not a health expert. I'm not going to pretend to be one. I don't play one on TV. But at the end of the day, I think we need to mask up those kindergarten to 6th grade students when it is substantial. I'd be open to talking about giving them a chance starting with no masks though. So that's, I know it sounds wishy-washy, but I'm open to hearing about it.
I read that article
What
too,
would
and
be a
0.2
trigger,
of
though,
those
as
kids
far
are
as to change it?
hospitalized.
That's kind of where I am.
That's where I'm stuck. What's that
Right.
trigger?
Right.
That's where I'm stuck.
I agree with,
As soon as there's a case as soon as there's a case.
In the school?
Like for me, yes. Yeah.
as soon as there's one case in the school.
In each school.
If you remember last year, we opened with masking in
Yep.
place.
We had
We had a
cases.
case on day 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took that long for the case to occur.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. And rates are higher
get
now
their
than they
kids
were
And
last
the rates
year.
are way higher than they were last year. Just
I agree with Heidi and Brian. I'm sure nobody is surprised. I think that, from the beginning and based on the scientific consensus of the scientific community and the epidemiologists that I follow, it's been vaccines, masking, and physical distancing. Those are the three, those are the 3 hallmarks of preventing spread of COVID-19. So if we have a population of kids who vaccine isn't an option, we're down to 2 measures that we can do, which is physical distancing and masking. And I think we need to mask when numbers in our community are substantial as a rate with the population of our community.
Do we have a number for substantial? Did we come to that, or is it a percentage from up there?
It's based on the state.
County
From
level.
that-
It's the county level
You're
excluding.
saying community, but you're talking.
Right.
county.
Really
Yeah.
county.
Yeah, our community is our county.
So is there no measure for Litchfield?
So, hang on a second, see
We
if I can
could,
get back
I
to
think
it.
we could create one. So if it was a certain rate per 100,000, we could certainly say what our number for Litchfield would be.
We just have to figure that out.
Yeah,
That'd be
because I
our
mean, I
own
think
metric,
Litchfield's,
yeah.
last year, my husband followed the per capita cases in
Yeah.
Litchfield, and we were about the same to above most days of the year, above Londonderry, Hudson, Manchester, Nashua, and Merrimack.
So he followed this.
He did.
So
He
I,
has it developed.
and he shared it with me. If you
Yeah.
look at this map, so this is doing the county map. So if I hover on Hillsborough County, I get the numbers that we saw in the other one, the 194.7, 100,000 cases over the last 14 days. That's where it pops up, right? It's different than if I hover on Manchester, which is a pullout, and Nashua is a pullout, right? They also have public health regions. So we are in the greater Nashua public health region. That's a different defined area. I don't think that helps us. And then we used to be able to, I could hover on Litchfield right here, but it says data suppressed. In fact, it says data suppressed for the entire
Everybody.
state. So I don't know if there's a break in it tonight or if they've done something, but it used to be you could get Litchfield data right here.
And that would be the number I would guess that we would use.
And
for
I think that's the
town-
number
town
Dan
levels.
has been tracking.
Right.
I just feel like people who are for parent choice, and it was obvious today, are throwing facts at me, and I felt insulted at the tone that was used. And I have a different school of thought. I'd like to know how many kids are sick, how many have symptoms, how many are in the hospital. Because you might have COVID and we don't even know it right now. You could have COVID.
I had
You could have
with
COVID,
no
and I wouldn't
symptoms.
even know, but we're gonna make 398 kids wear a mask because 5 kids in Litchfield may or may not have symptoms.
But one of the other concerns is, and someone mentioned it,
Mhm. I like your tone, Brian. Thank you.
thanks.
Brian's very chill tonight.
It's different. Like a lot of people keep talking about, like all summer they've been, playing together, playing,
Going to camps,
sports, camp, doing everything. But again, you're outdoors. That changes.
Sleepovers.
That changes it quite a bit.
I've
Now
had
you're
like
gonna take-
75 kids in my house,
Yeah. Now you can have 20, and they're all of the age to be vaccinated. So,
and I don't know who's vaccinated
Right.
or not.
but now we're going to take 22, 23, 24 kids in one classroom,
Mhm.
along with a para, a teacher, and have them in a confined area. It's different.
Are we going to make them wear KN95s? Because if I was really concerned, I'd make my kids wear a N95.
That's your choice. Have your kid wear whatever they want.
But that's my choice.
Masks help. Cloth masks help. Surgical masks help. It's not the end all be all. It's
Right.
not going to be the end all be all, but
No.
it helps. So if
They
we
can
can
wear any
reduce
mask they
the
want.
rates of
Seen elementary
transmission.
school kids wear masks.
Yeah, I work in
You
one.
have.
I call that
Not yet. It's not.
I still
time.
think it's
Is
the
it
safest
public-
way to start.
What?
I still think it's the
We
safest
got
way to
emails.
start.
Sorry.
Are we going to read the emails? Is that after? Because we got emails from elementary school teachers in this town who are against masking or parents.
Very possible.
Are we going to do, is that next? I don't even know what on the.
I know
agenda-
we're all over
Yeah.
the place. Yeah, correspondence is next.
Okay.
Do we want to wait for correspondence and then?
I was going to suggest that we wait for correspondence so that
Let's listen to
there's a
Brian this time.
presentation here and Mr. Perez is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to
Three
get moving.
students.
So we'll take a vote on this
Mhm.
later or after correspondence.
I read all
Are
the
you-
correspondence that came in.
Yeah,
So I mean,
I did
I
too.
don't need it. I mean,
Yeah.
Brian can report out on it, but
Right.
I don't need it to
Right.
make my vote.
Nor do I.
Okay.
We've
Then
all
it
read 'em,
sounds
we've
like
all
we're all
seen 'em.
prepared and we all have how we're feeling on it.
Yep.
So I guess the motion is to approve COVAX 21 version 3.0.
Version 3.0,
410.
which will include a matrix that looks like this with,
Mhm.
I've been trying to edit as we go. I put targeted in as opposed to,
Okay.
I've tried to define targeted. I mean, I'm going to do my best to capture what I think I heard.
Yeah, I
With
agree
fresh
with that
eyes.
language.
Yeah, I think the only question is whether that top right side is green, right? That's what Tara has
Yeah.
proposed
No.
and
Well-
discussed as a possibility.
Can we just vote on that? Show of
Okay.
hands.
Yeah,
How many-
that's the only question.
This box right here, everybody see it? That substantial low.
transfer.
How many people want that to remain yellow?
If that turns green, then that means that you would open with no mask.
No masks. How many people want that
Until
to stay
there's a
yellow
case.
targeted? Okay, how many want that to be a green box?
I haven't voted yet.
know.
I'm not ready yet. What my concern is, how do we know when we move? What if we have to move back into that box? So we're saying we're starting green to give everybody a chance.
Mhm.
So if school impact moves back to low, but county info stays substantial, that would be green
Low
in
is-
December.
Low to me is no cases in the school, in the
Low is
elementary
defined as
school.
zero cases
At
or
GMS.
sporadic cases with no evidence that it occurred within. So the kid who goes over the weekend to hockey thing and reports back and there's no evidence it was related to school, that doesn't count. That keeps us in low.
And to me, that would also, you'd go back into that level after the quarantine period, right? So it's not just when they're diagnosed. It's just after. It's after that. It's after
they
the
tell
safe
us.
period.
Well, it would be a school-wide policy. It wouldn't be per individual student, right?
But it would kick in when a student when there was a case, based on that definition, right? I don't.
I'm guessing that it would be a current case. And so when the current
Yes.
case is over,
Yes.
then
That's how
the
I
number would
envision it.
change. I think, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we open day one, green, no mask. Day two, if it occurs like last year, there's a case, then we go to mask, we go to yellow.
It would
I would
become
be in
yellow
favor of that
targeted.
if that's how it happens.
That would be if it were green.
Well, that's.
I don't want to be that one kid.
I know, right?
I mean,
Nobody put anything on Facebook.
So I'd almost be in favor of leaving the chart as it is I don't
Don't
know. if
add
this-
purple. That's too
I
many
know,
colors.
I know. Leaving the chart as it is, but adding an asterisk to say all schools will start green. I don't know.
You can start green, but we're already in yellow.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's the thing. I mean, I look at where we are in cases compared to where we were last year. Would I have wanted kids to wear a mask last early May?
Mhm.
Yeah, I would have.
Right.
But
Okay.
I also understand that's my opinion. I'm trying to take into consideration.
That's okay. It's why we're a
That's what-
5-member
that's-
board.
I
You
like
vote
that.
your what you believe and we come to an answer together.
Mhm.
So I'll recall the vote. We have a motion and a second to leave. Do we leave the cell in question yellow for targeted masking measures? Or do we change, or, okay, so if you support keeping it yellow, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Keeping it yellow means you start up.
I know, let's define it.
Keep it yellow, that means
It
K to
means-
6 is masked.
PK to 6 would be masked, 7 through 12 would be maskless, 7th and 8th grade would be masked in the hallways.
So the motion is to keep it
That's
how,
yellow.
how it is.
Yellow, how it
what
is,
it-
yeah.
To me, I am somewhat influenced
think I got
by
it.
the feedback that we've got at this level to make my decision be low or to make my decision be green.
Can I ask
At this level, I think that's to me, I think that the risk is still very low in that case.
So all in favor of keeping it yellow?
Can I ask it? Sorry.
We just do a show of hands yelling.
Mike,
Yeah.
is that orangey box going to be the same for the one above it and the two next to it? You just haven't edited it yet?
It's supposed to be yellow.
It shouldn't be anything different, I would say. No, that
Right,
was
but
red.
what's written in that box says
Okay.
7 to 12 required PK to 6. That's what we're saying is going to be in anything that's yellow, right?
So yes,
Right.
so what
Okay.
I did is I modified an old red box,
Yep.
but it really should be yellow targeted.
Gotcha.
Now
Thank
that,
you.
because I'm looking at it, so required PK to 6 is our
Correct. Is our targeted for all yellow boxes.
But that box was
right, because
red.
targeted means that it is required in PK to 6.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I don't need to have this as a separate box any longer. So I
See,
should
I
just,
would like to keep it a red box.
oh dear.
That's where I think that should be personal choice.
So I think where we are, oh man.
Which one? The
bear with
orange?
me here.
The upper right one.
That upper right. Okay.
Medium school impact with substantial community impact transmission, I think should be red. So that we can prevent it from going higher.
I don't know what color yellow this is. Yellow.
Oy, oy, oy.
It's gonna be the wrong yellow.
No, that's green. Oh, okay.
It's yellow. It's the same color
Get it,
family.
it's yellow. It's not a different yellow. I'll figure
Let's
it out.
talk about the
Okay.
original yellow targeted box.
Yeah.
Is everybody ready to vote? It's yellow or green.
This one here.
That one.
That's the one.
Okay.
Okay? How we doing?
So we're voting to keep it yellow.
Yes. All in favor of keeping it yellow, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? So keeping it yellow passes 3-2-0.
So K to 6 is going back to school
What?
with masks.
We really took a vote on it because that's where we're at.
Well, we haven't approved the plan yet, but we've approved that box being yellow.
So
Actually,
for
that's
coloring.
helpful because the
I
rest
don't
of the
think so.
plan.
Yes.
One case though.
You what?
'Cause that would be, oh, it
So-
doesn't matter.
we pick 7th and 8th because they are eligible to be vaccinated. What happens now when we have a 6th grader that can get vaccinated?
And I thought I heard September
I
for
know.
even younger kids.
Well, that's
Is
what we
that
hope.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this would all be a non-issue. but-
It would be, but you're going to have 6th graders become eligible to get vaccinated shortly because of age.
Okay, then we can always come back and revisit this. You know, we can we can move the goalposts as more kids become vaccinated, right?
Or we could just say
What they
targeted
show.
mean masks are required in grades where, you know,
Right, other
vaccines
Well,
are
districts.
not
sixth
available.
grade would be the one grade that would.
Yeah.
could
The kids
transition.
turn 12 throughout the year. Is that 6th grade?
Mhm.
Right.
Can't?
They turn 12
Yes.
throughout the year. So you're going to have some that turn 12 in October, November, December, all the way through.
Right.
I don't know where the bulk of them fall with their birthdays, but I see your question.
But I would think at that point that they should move into the targeted
Yeah.
case.
I think
Show
it's-
proof of vaccination and
Yeah.
be choice.
I'm okay with that.
By, we're,
Vaccination?
Brian, if just,
I think it's a matter of availability, right? So as it becomes available to that age group.
that's going to be a tracking nightmare for the teacher, right? So we want our teachers to be teaching and not
Well, I
trying
don't think
to,
it'd be that difficult. You have a teacher that's got 20 students in front of her. You got a checklist. It's like, okay,
but it's changing daily by when somebody's birthday is,
I
by
know.
when they get a vaccine, by when they're 2 weeks
just keep
beyond the
updating it.
second shot.
just
By
keep updating.
that's
Well,
just
I don't think it's fair to a sixth grader that turns 12, say September, October, can get vaccinated, and then is going to be required to wear a mask. I don't see how they're any different than a seventh or eighth.
That's why the parent should have the choice.
Well, and hopefully that situation doesn't happen because it'll be opened up.
I would say
Soon.
even if you have that situation of a September birthday, you still have to get your first shot 3 weeks,
Mhm.
second shot 2 weeks. I think we have enough time that we can assess, and hopefully vaccines for that entire
Right.
That'll be a
under
chunk of
will have
them, right?
happened by then, and then we can assess it. But the very earliest, the new sixth graders that are turning 12 would not be fully vaccinated 2 weeks
I
post.
realize that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair enough that they would have to go through an entire year.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, I understand.
okay, but we're changing our definition of targeted from a grade-based definition to a vaccine decision definition. I mean, you're changing.
No, we're leaving.
I'm not
no,
changing
we're
anything.
Leaving the plan
No.
just how it is.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is we need to revisit sixth grade
Mhm.
as far as students. And I realize they can't all be vaccinated, or if all of a sudden it becomes available in September, then we'd handle it no different than we are with seventh and eighth grade. That if it's available September 1, then we know that come November 1, they've all had the opportunity to get the first shot, second shot, and have cleared.
Okay, so that's if you change the vaccine level below age 12, right?
Yes.
But,
No, if you change it to 12.
but what I'm saying is, no matter what, you're going to have some students in the grade who meet the age threshold and some who don't. It's just going to become a real tracking nightmare. That's all I'm saying. Just keep that in mind. We ask a lot of our teachers.
I know.
That's just one more component of it.
Mike, what if none of the seventh graders and none of the eighth graders, maybe it's 12 in each grade are vaccinated?
They've had the opportunity to be vaccinated.
Okay.
So
So
if that's a
You're
parent
looking at
choice,
this
so
as like
parent
a
choice.
liability situation.
Pretty much.
Okay.
If a parent chooses not to vaccinate their students and they
So
make,
if
they
no
can make the
sixth
choice.
graders get vaccinated, or maybe 4, why do you need to see a vaccination card?
We don't.
We don't.
Okay, I just heard Brian say,
No.
well, they just show the vaccination card.
No, it would be.
I said it, if that child says I'm vaccinated and I don't want to wear a mask, then I would think would have to show proof that they're vaccinated. Because it's going outside of what our parameters are.
All right.
But
I
let's
think
cross that
that's-
bridge.
yeah,
That can be a
when
future
it starts to burn.
conversation.
Yeah, we don't need to decide
Right
that now.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we have one box colored in yellow. Any other changes to the matrix? I am a little bit concerned about the medium school impact and substantial community impact being yellow and not red.
I'm sorry, which one? Which box?
The one substantial.
Yep.
Yep. And the medium school impact. Way over.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, so
I would prefer to see that red. I'd entertain
I
it if anybody else supported it.
finally got it yellow.
The bright yellow.
Bright yellow.
It's a good yellow.
But I highlighted it in blue, that's the
Okay.
box we're talking about.
So I'll make a motion that we turn that box red.
For K through 6 only?
Required,
Required.
Well,
at the
under
same-
targeted, they'd be required anyway.
it would be a school-based thing, so again, it would be required by which
Same
school
as
is having the
required for
medium
all of the
impact.
other high school impacts.
If we can't understand this, how can we expect Joe Public to understand it? My husband
no,
can't
so-
understand it. He just
So
told
what
me.
I think you're saying is that if it's turned red, all the schools and every school is in
the
that
medium.
box area,
Right.
then even the high school would have to wear masks at that point in time.
Right.
I disagree because Tara, it's school impact. You have to, so, well, we've made this,
Well,
I guess we
well,
made
if
it
the
for
high
all.
school was in substantial and then medium impact, then that would mean.
Yeah,
that
so
they
we're,
would
so,
wear a
I'm
mask.
sorry, we've covered, I'm getting myself twisted up,
I
but
know.
because of the way we've written this, it's now a global look at 3 schools. Targeted impacts each school a little bit differently. And so really what I have to write is required means PK through 12.
Yeah.
I'm going to write the definition that I think
Sure,
we're
right,
working
right,
on.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And medium impact is what exactly again? For school?
To me, it's one cluster, right? That's the Department of Health definition, but then there's also that teacher component.
So
Does anyone-
medium is one cluster in the school, absenteeism 7 to 15%, and staff capacity is strained, is what you had written down
Yeah.
previously,
Right.
under being a level medium.
So that's 3 or more linked cases.
Yep.
That's your cluster. We've got absenteeism rates of 7 to 15%. Now, pre-COVID, we ran 4% would be a high day.
Mhm.
So,
That's a pretty
when you're looking
substantial
at 7 to 15% absenteeism, that's pretty substantial. And we're strained with our staff.
Does anyone find it ironic that we're sitting in a room less than 3 feet apart, not wearing masks, most of us?
Oh, no, we.
Does anyone see the irony in that? In a substantial spread?
Don't, because I've been vaccinated and I made a personal choice to not wear a mask.
Then our,
So then why can't we make choices?
Why are we
Personal choices.
I didn't mean to open up the gallery again. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there a second with my motion to make that box red?
Make the blue box red.
Oh, there
I
we
have
go.
a second
I'll second it for discussion. I don't know if I'm voting
Okay,
for it, but
second
I'll second
for
for discussion.
discussion. Any further
Required
discussion?
means masks are required for all students.
I feel-
Were we ever in medium last year? We definitely had a cluster,
Yes.
right? Did we ever have a student absenteeism rate to 7 to 15% during the school year?
Well,
Strained staff.
Hard to predict because we had 25% of our students remote.
Yep.
So that clouded it. We're talking now we're all in person.
Mhm.
If you hit that level, that would be double what was pre-COVID. So that would be
Which is like a
substantial.
flu outbreak, basically, in a regular year.
And strained staff.
And strained staff, and we were strained
Yeah.
a lot.
It's, yeah.
So that
Well,
did
we're
occur.
starting
It
off
needs
the
to be
year
said.
strained, aren't we, with staff? I mean, just.
Yeah, that's my
whoa.
concern is that we're
Yeah.
starting the year off that way.
Right. My take on it is that by being a little more proactive and a little firmer at the beginning, maybe we can back out. That's my.
It's easier to do
I'm
that.
sorry. It's not. It.
So
It's not a
I'll just
discussion.
refer the board,
Sorry.
just
You guys are
refer the
like the
board
old
back
people
for a
from the
minute
Muppets.
to the
Sorry.
state guidance
Right. That's the
was
state.
red. You've already made the first
One-
substantial red, yellow, right? And now we had yellow all across, and the suggestion is to go red, like the state is advising. Just
And again, I think we're going to impact a mass majority of people that are already vaccinated or have had the opportunity to be vaccinated. But I think we keep it yellow.
Tara, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I wanted the other one above it, green.
So
So
you're
this
yellow.
would be
You're
yellow.
firmly yellow. Okay. Liz,
Green.
Heidi.
I'm with keeping it yellow.
Okay.
I feel comfortable with
All right.
yellow.
I don't think we need to vote then. I could think the consensus is yellow.
Take your,
What?
you
I'll
have a motion. and a
withdraw
second,
my
okay?
motion and
Ah.
we can keep it yellow.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian. Who are you? Mike.
it is no
I asked
longer
for
blue.
Tractor second.
Okay, so now can we take a vote on whether or not we include this table in our reopening plan? Is that the next step?
That's what I would be helpful.
I'll make a
Oh, we already
motion
did.
to, what?
I don't
I
know.
thought
where
we did.
We have
too.
not made a motion to include this
we-
in our plan.
we
We
got
just
one.
voted on the
Included
two
plan,
little
sorry.
boxes. Yeah. So I make a motion to include this table, utilize this table instead of the state one in our reopening plan.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And abstain?
Nay.
Nay, sorry, oops.
You
Nay.
can say aye for no, I know what you meant.
Like a horse.
410. And now we need to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve COVAX 3.0 as it is drafted.
Second.
Discussion? Any further discussion? I don't hear any, so I will take a vote for all in favor of approving 3.0. Say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? Passes 410. There we go. We have a reopening plan.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on it tomorrow. I'm going to set it back out to you only because if somebody thinks that I didn't get what the will of the board was, let me know that. And then once we're confident that it is what we approved, I will get it out to parents. So that will go out maybe Friday if we can get it turned around. Yes, and we'll get it posted on the website once the board is confirmed. That's a lot of editing. I just want to make sure I got it right. I think I do, but just to make sure. All right.
The majority of the board.
Once the vote is taken, it is the board.
All right.
I will speak in the board.
Okay. So
With an
let's
with an
move
asterisk.
on.
Okay.
Now we have correspondence.
Can I
Yes.
suggest
Go ahead.
something?
Oh, presentation. You want to do this high school
If we can-
presentation?
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Sorry, you guys had to sit through all that.
I've been sitting there for a long time.
They have.
Okay, bear with me here.
You're honorary Campbell High School representatives now. You did your time. Yes.
Is there a link? Do they have a link in here?
Bailey, you guys just have to state your first names.
Their presentation?
Yeah.
Just your first names.
Because you're minors.
Did I move it on there? I don't think I
Oh, here it is. Got it.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, wait, I was smart. Just good feet.
All right.
Oh, nice. Okay, hi, I'm Josie.
I'm Haley.
I'm Bailey.
We're here to present our senior project. We're doing personalized parking spots. We recently met with Mr. Perez and then the head of maintenance, Mr. Ross, and they approved it. And then we wanted to come to you guys, get further approval just because it is a big task and also like our rules and regulations I have to go through further and like what you guys are looking for.
So basically what our idea actually is so we want upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors to be able to paint their parking spot. So they would pay an additional fee on top of what they already pay for their parking spot. We haven't come up with what that fee is. And then they would have to buy their own paint, their own supplies, and then they could basically just personalize, customize their spot however they want within reason, obviously. And then we just really thought that this was a good idea for like school spirit and bringing positivity. And we hope that it could be a tradition that we could bring.
So basically on the doc that you guys have are just some of the like criteria and requirements we have for what you can paint on your parking spot and what we want to do for that. So there is a box that we have on the last page where if you want to paint your parking spot, you'll have to submit your idea, like a rough draft and outline of what you want to paint on your parking spot. That'll have to get approved by the administration. And then you can go from there and go ahead and paint. So we want to do a couple days that we'll be there. Obviously, we'll be watching over and hopefully someone else will be watching with us. And then as far as the fee, so it's going to be another expense on top of the $100, but hopefully the $100 that we already pay for our parking spot, that will go towards the resealing of the spot at the end of the year. So the students don't have to do it themselves and it'll just be all professionally done and all set to go at the end of the year. And the money that we get from this could go towards the senior class. I think that's it.
I think it's a great idea. I've seen other schools that have done something like this, but they just kept it the seniors. But if it's a fundraiser, I totally understand why you want the juniors involved too. So my only question for you was, where does the fee for the painting go? And you answered that it would go to the senior class.
Yes.
Okay.
Only if like it's not used to reseal. So if we do have to take
Oh,
costs
I
to
see.
reseal, then we're gonna calculate that like per like square feet and then the cents to reseal it. So
Okay.
it kind of depends if we can get it out of the $100 that are already in like the bank account for parking spots, or if it's gonna be an additional cost to like have to pay for the reseal.
Okay, and that all jives with the accounting that we've done so far and how those fees are.
Yeah, I mean,
Utilized?
we leave the fee, we keep the fees in order to do maintenance on the parking lot. I'd have to get an idea of what the cost of a resealing would be. You'd have to reseal and paint in line.
Dave was gonna check on that.
Yep,
too. That's
okay.
what
Okay.
He said he told the girls he was gonna check to see how much it would cost to reseal and reline the parking lot.
Yep.
I didn't think it was gonna be that crazy. But
I know the striping's not that much. I doubt sealing would be much
Yeah.
above it. We do have the balance in the student activity fund to take care of that. So
So I looked at this okay, so you haven't determined yet the additional costs that they would need to
No,
buy a
not
paint permit?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's the other thing too. Dave is going to make sure that they know what type of paint to recommend. So he said that he may have some red. He said they have plenty of red.
I'm not
To
surprised.
donate. So, but he said that he would give them the exact type of paint that they need to get. So he said the only thing that would probably is when winter comes and the only time it's gonna probably fade and scrape off a little bit would be with clouds.
Sense.
But
Okay.
Is the parking lot on a schedule to be recoded?
not that I'm
Was it
aware of.
just as
I'd
needed?
have to talk to Dave. Most of the work we do is as needed.
Are we gonna reseal each spot? Or is it gonna be the whole thing? Because I think that would be really expensive.
You'd
do
have to do the
parking-
whole thing in order to reline and number.
Oh, okay.
He said if we gave him like an estimate on how many people were doing it, then he could give us like a quote on how much it would cost. So then we could figure out if we needed to charge an additional amount for the resealing or if we could just use that money for the senior class.
Okay.
Oh,
So we're gonna sit back down with them once they get the numbers.
So you're gonna have, I was gonna say, you definitely want to get the cost of the resealing before you establish your price, because you
Yeah.
could like turn around and say $20 for a parking space and find out it's gonna cost you $30 per space to reseal.
Yeah, that's why we're gonna meet. Once they get the numbers of rough estimate of how many kids want to participate, then we'll meet with them and then he'll kind of give us.
And for the seniors, this can almost be like a practice run for your graduation hat, like this is what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
In a bigger picture.
I was thinking too, I don't know if the painted spots are going to be clustered. So if you have a spot here, there, and everywhere, that could be more expensive than if you had all the painted spots in one area, because you sort of could reseal an area, right? So just factor that into the cost calculation.
But they already have their parking spots.
Yeah, they picked them today. A little behind the eight ball.
We
Sorry.
picked them today and yesterday.
But it's not gonna cost us any money, is it?
No.
No.
No,
Who's-
it'll all
who's
be
us?
funded.
It's all self-funded. It's just,
Yeah.
we're not gonna see bad words, naughty
No.
pictures.
That's why we
Yeah, I'm pretty
said-
sure Perez has that. Like, you get out your Urban
No, I
Dictionary,
liked-
make
I
sure
thought-
everything's cool.
And the thing
I mean, I
is,
haven't mentioned-
Only your name.
and the
The other piece was
Not a
that I was-
boyfriend or girlfriend.
I haven't mentioned it to the three of them, but I was hoping we could maybe link it to homecoming.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
That's a good idea.
Since homecoming's a few weeks early this year.
Well, the other thing too, depending on what the cost is for resealing, part of the reason we charge $100 per parking spot is for the upkeep of the parking lot.
True.
And I don't know when the last time it was recoded.
It's been a few.
Yeah.
Probably.
We did. I think we relined it. We relined it last year. I don't think it's been resealed since
No,
I've
not
been
for a
here.
while.
I like the idea of tying it to homecoming. I was gonna say you may want to think about a second date because I think when other people see it, they're gonna be really excited about it and maybe wish they had done it the first time. But if you're doing it at homecoming, then I think that makes a lot of sense to just keep it the one day.
I think you guys should also have artists for rent. I know,
Yeah,
I
'cause
know
some
boys that
boys
won't
don't
do
wanna be-
themselves. Like, do you know what I mean?
There you go.
Like, my son would pay Bailey $20 to put like something on there.
That's exactly what I told my daughter. I
I'm
said,
serious,
Put out
like-
for commission.
Seriously.
Yeah,
You know, spot.
yeah. Paint my spot for me. This is what I want.
Right. So do we
That
have
money
any,
should go to
Domino's logo.
That money should go to
does the
existing.
board have any
Obviously,
other
the daughter of-
concerns or
mother of sons.
questions?
Do we need to approve this or do we?
No.
Yes.
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 We do. So I'll make a motion to approve the painted parking spot fundraiser for the senior class.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstain. 500.
Nope.
Nope. You abstained.
Abstain.
Oh, you abstain. Okay.
Yeah.
410.
0-1.
401. Ugh. Okay. Thanks for.
That's awesome. I
keeping
can't
me
wait
on
to
my
see it,
toes.
girls.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
Good job.
Good job. Sorry we took so long.
Yep.
And you had to wait.
Welcome to the show.
All right. So I believe that brings us to correspondence.
All right.
Hmm.
There it is.
All right. So like I said, we've had, I believe, 36 correspondence in the last 2 weeks. So I tried to be brief as I was last time with each correspondence and just pull out the highlights. So the first one is on 8/4 from Rich LaSalle, complimenting us on the meeting that we had for the message of unity. Thank Chairwoman for taking ownership of the release of resources. Made a statement that, the district plays an important role in what goes on the website, and he knows that Dr. Jetty can't vet all the information that's there, so that someone should be in charge of taking care of that. He wants to make sure that we answer all the questions on the right to know that Laura Gandy had presented. He'd like us to reissue the message of unity, to truly be inclusive. He also stated that we got the message that critical race theory is not now, nor ever has been, part of the curriculum at any level of school district. Debbie Rice wants to make masks family choice. And again, stating that kids have been playing all summer and still the numbers in New Hampshire are very low. She also wanted us to caution, because the cameras are on, and just some of our, I can't remember exactly what she said. I know that she made a statement to make certain that we know that the camera's on. So how we, I guess, control ourselves. She was also concerned that the statement was made that we wear masks to protect our friends is condescending, implying kids who don't wear masks want to hurt their friends. And she said, when a school board member goes on social media and tries to promote their own personal view, it undermines the literal role of a school board member. 8/6 was Jim Norton. He sent the chart of vaccinations by town in New Hampshire. He feels that vaccine, no mask, unvaccinated should wear a mask. As cases are rising and all, we should follow science. Number 5 is student Jositis. Dismayed to hear that a good portion of our conversation focused on personal opinion rather than factual information about the Delta virus. She sent us 4 links. Delta is more infectious. We need a flexible mode that allows for a mandated mask when needed. I think that's what we worked on tonight. On 8/6, Pam Boutselis. She's a grandmother of 2 at GMS, concerned not vaccinated safely mandate mask for students and teachers. She would like to have teachers wear them along with students throughout the year of next year. On 8/9, Brian Dodge once again reached out. He says it's been 2 weeks since he sent out his last inquiry about utilizing fundraising funds from Washington, D.C. He'd like to buy some wood for a sophomore project. And I think you've already reached out to him. On 8/9, Stephanie Silver wants no mask. Decision should be in her hands. On 8/9, Jen White, fully against wearing mask. 12 and under, much lower risks. Those that get the Delta or COVID has milder symptoms. On 8/10, Terry DeCarly, make wearing a mask a choice for those who are vaccinated. On 8/10, Christine Tremblay sent 5 links, would like to see the Delta we use to make our, the data, we use to make our decision. Under 12, not at high risk. 8/10, Tyler Matthew, enough is enough, wants board to vote on mask, parent choice, making a child wear them is child abuse and bigger chance of dying in a car crash. So it's time to learn to live with COVID and stop fearing the mongering. What is the objective? Keeping kids safe. no COVID, no hospitalization, no deaths. On 8/10, Donna LaRose, hope the no mask mandate. She submitted a video of the doctor, same one that Leanne sent. And she made a statement that YouTube keeps removing it. It's a doctor in Mount Vernon, Indiana. Jeff Avitable on 8/10 does not want to mandate wants choice. On the same date, I believe it was 8/10. I didn't write the date down. Kurt Schaefer wants the choice and against cohort groupings. Samantha McLeod, I got to pull hers up because she just asked if I could read it. So just bear with me. Can you have it here?
Did you use your whole pad of paper for the note?
I used half of it. So Samantha wrote on 8/11, I'm writing as a parent of two children LMS. One is vaccinated and one that is not because of age. I'm also writing as a respiratory care practitioner and an ECMO specialist. Unlike many who have opinions on this matter, I'm actually dealing with children, adolescents, and adults alike with the Delta variant, especially in the last couple of weeks. The science is clear, masks protect. However, they only work when everyone in the room is masked. It protects those from someone carrying COVID by stopping it at individuals with COVID masked mouth. It protects others. Schools are an area of protection. Schools are in an area of protection. To not mandate mask wearing for those that cannot be vaccinated and have much higher percentage of getting deathly sick is astounding to me. My children will be wearing masks to protect others, but knowing others may not be wearing and protecting is devastating. For some that don't believe that the Delta variant is affecting children, I was never asked to help at any children's hospital during 2020 COVID spikes. As of last week, I was asked by my hospital to go to Florida or Texas as an ECMO specialist. This is a complete life support. There are not many ECMO specialists in the country. Their adult COVID ECMO unit, as well as the children's hospital and COVID ECMO units are double occupancy. Staff have been living in the hospital for over 2 weeks with no breaks because they have no others to take care of their deathly ill patients. All these children are not vaccinated, and some were unfortunately infected by family members that had been vaccinated, and through that made them safe. This is slowly spreading up to us. This is not a flu. It may start as flu symptoms, but quickly ends up in children not being able to oxygenate their vital organs. Now, overall, this is still a small percentage of children that are infected that get to the point. However, I would hate to see other children in our district get sick like this, or even half as sick, which is as much of a higher percentage. My personal hospital has been sending children to Boston Children's due to the COVID symptoms in the past 2 weeks, and we are slowly getting younger, sicker patients that have no, I don't know how to say the word, morbidities daily. Morbidities, thank you. We still don't know why some people get so sick and why others aren't. I also hate to be any of the children or mine. A mask offers no protection unless everyone is masked. A mask at this point is actually our only true protection. Those vaccinated and those not. So I beg that for the 12 and under crowd at least, please protect our students and those unable to vaccinate and immune compromised. Again, what I say is not hearsay, nor is it from a news source. It's what I'm seeing as a person who takes care of children, adults with COVID and post-COVID symptoms. Boy, now I'm going to have to find my mail out there. All right. On 8/11, Jessica Vaughn Martin, common sense, wear a mask under 12. Everyone has seen the importance of wearing masks, follow CDC guidelines. 8/12, Anissa Swanson requests a no mask mandate, vaccinate 2 children so they could be normal. Decision is not size fits all, one size fits all. On 8/12, Laura Gandia wants no mask. Masks are contrary to everything that the country stands for. She gave 12 reasons why we shouldn't wear a mask, and a couple are cause acne, psychological, and uncomfortable. Many unknowns of wearing a mask, short or long-term effects. On 8/13, Steve Doucette has a seventh grader, and he's concerned about not having PE. He wants to know who is responsible and what is the thought process. Why can't UAs be split and rotate the schedule differently? UAs maybe once or twice a week. On E15, Caitlin McCormick, make masking a parent's choice. We were elected by the people of this town to represent us and put our children's best interests first. Her family all had COVID from school. On 8/15, Kat Duke, concerned about UAs. One of her children has no gym, one has no health. She watched a 7/14 meeting and not voted on, confused what and when UAs are available. Want us to review child obesity is on the rise. 8/16, Erica Donahue, concerned about the LMS schedule, that it may affect UAs. Again, gym is her son's outlet. And she suggested we change the times of the schools. GMS start time 7:25, LMS 8:25, and CHS 9:25. On 8/17, Michelle Zayas, pleading to insist a mask mandate until vaccination is for all. I know, right? 8/17, Mary Frank, please start the year wearing masks. New Hampshire numbers are increasing every day. Michelle Gill, masks should not be required, just like other towns. And she also states it's completely unprofessional for a certain school board member to be taken to their own Facebook page, encouraging friends to write letters in support of masks to meet their own agenda. Parents of Litchfield do not want masks. Masks don't work. 8/17, Scott McDonald, please allow parent choice. We were better off because we were in school last year. Data shows younger children get mild symptoms. 28th, Leanne Romano, let parents decide, like surrounding towns have done on 8/18, EC Enos, vote no on mask, parents' choice. 8/18, Don Parmelo, masks do not help, does not want mask. 99.97% of kids don't get sick. He also states, I, along with 200 others, at least know of a board member to have sent out a social media post to have her friends write in demanding masks. If this is true and happened, you should be ashamed. 8/18, Leanne Romano, thanks for paying attention and watching. It was the same video. She said, not all see this differently. And then she said, hillbillies and selfish racists. 8/18, Meg Leon Guerrero, masking plan that is established with advice from health experts, systems that is clear when to wear a mask.
You need a bigger notepad.
More paper. 8/18, Christine Rogers, no mask, like many of the surrounding towns have. Leanne Romano sent, again, that same video from Mount Vernon. Tara Coakley reposts the message of unity without the links. Appreciate the message we had put out before. I just need to find one more. I lost my mail. And the last one is from John York, who also asked to have his read into the record. I'd like to add my voice to those asking the school board to mandate masks this coming year. There are only 13 active cases in Litchfield, a town of 8,800 people, or 0.15% of our town population. I also want to voice my displeasure with the school board and superintendent for not sharing his plan for the coming school year before the meeting tonight, so citizens can review the plan. The school board has taken to not posting their meeting agenda in a timely manner and provide little to no valuable information in the meeting materials. In fact, this meeting today, as of 1:50 p.m., there is nothing in the folder in today's meeting. I must believe this is a conscious decision on the part of the school board chair to not provide this information, as they are responsible for making sure the information is correct and posted. One would think that the CRT issue, the school board would decide provide more information for the citizens instead of less. I would encourage the school board to move in a new direction and replace the present school board chair. If one is unable to provide the correct leadership and direction for the school board, they should not be in the role. In watching the last few months, it seems like the present school board chair is more enamored with the title than doing the job of the school board chair. And that is correspondence.
Aren't the minutes all, when are the minutes, can we reiterate when the minutes are posted and?
Once we approve them.
No, they're,
Oh,
the
they're
draft
draft
minutes are
minutes
48
are
hours.
Draft.
That's what I thought.
But he was talking about the agenda and the meeting materials. The agendas and meeting materials are posted in two places, under the school board agenda tab and on the calendar. So if they're not in one place, they're in another.
On
And
the
usually by the
SAU
Friday, is it by the Friday before?
It's the Monday. of.
The Monday of,
The Monday
okay.
of. So what I have been doing consistently or somewhat consistently is posting when those documents are made public and posted on the website. I post them on the school board Facebook page with an
Sure.
announcement that we're having a meeting this
But
week.
we're not required to post it on the Facebook page.
No, we're not.
It's being posted per
It's
the,
being
yes.
posted.
Um,
And it's in two places that it's posted.
Right. So I have some school board comments in response to some of the comments made in correspondence. Is it all right if I take this opportunity to respond to those comments, or would you rather me hold them off? Or should I hold them off for school board comments after?
We can change it to school board comments now, can't we?
Yeah, just.
Everything's
Let's do that.
I know, we're-
I'll
okay.
have to do-
I know.
All right.
I have some comments too.
Thank you. So I'd like to respond to some of the comments received in correspondence accusing a certain school board member of actively campaigning and encouraging people to email the board in order to sway the vote regarding mask policy. The certain school board member, I believe, was me, and the allegations are in regards to an analogy I posted on my personal private Facebook page comparing the changing COVID mitigation recommendations to a pilot turning on the fasten seatbelt sign when it had previously been turned off. I agree with this analogy. Policy sometimes needs to change in response to changes in the current situation, whether it's COVID, bullying, school shootings, or any number of items that we see on a daily basis as board members, in order to provide a safe, consistent learning environment for all of our students. A friend of mine who works with young children and whose husband came very close to death due to a COVID infection commented on my personal Facebook post, I just watched last night's meeting. The uninformed cannot be making decisions regarding policy. It is vital that accurate, factual information be analyzed and considered. How can I help make that happen? To which I responded, keep being involved and send your input, including your position and any factors that you'd like us to consider in making decisions regarding masking to the school board, litchfieldsd.org website. First, anyone who has followed my tenure as a member of the school board knows that I have always been an advocate for transparency, increased communication, and opportunities for the community to provide feedback to the board. I've consistently and repeatedly responded to comments on Facebook with, please email the teacher/principal/superintendent/school board with your concerns and questions. My response to my friend's comment was no different and echoed the statement Dr. Jetty made at our last meeting, that if anyone had any input or factors that we should be considering in making these decisions, to please email them to the board. Second, I created the school board social media accounts and I took on the role to represent the board on social media. Doing so allows us to keep an eye on topics of concern and to answer questions. I've always fully supported all community input, emails, meeting attendance in person or by Google Meet, and have worked toward more community involvement in our school board decisions, whether I agree or disagree with the opinions provided. Third, my personal perspective and take on the policies of this district is one of 5. We work as a collective to represent all stakeholders in our school district to the best of our ability. Each of us sought our positions to improve education in Litchfield, to serve our community, and to always keep the best interest of students at the forefront in every decision we make. Our perspectives and viewpoints differ, which is why the district is run by a board of 5 instead of one individual. We have no power or decision-making power individually, only as a board convened in a meeting. So my response was one of send your input to the school board, which I've always advocated for. It was not meant as a email campaign to sway anyone's vote or anyone's opinion on the matter. So I just wanted to clarify that, because apparently over 200 people thought that that was what I was trying to do. And I have a response to Mr. John York's submission, which was just read during correspondence. He says, I just responded to a few of his quotes. I sent the response to the board as well. And as Dr. Jetty, did you not receive it yet?
No.
Okay. He said, I also want to voice my displeasure with the school board and superintendent for not sharing the masking, the reopening plan for the coming year before the meeting tonight so citizens can review the plan. I responded, the draft COVAX 21 plan was discussed by the board at several meetings. It has been posted on the district website since mid-July. It has been updated throughout the summer and includes links to the CDC and HGPS recommendations we are considering tonight. It is posted on the website under the coronavirus tab, and I've asked for a link to be included in past meeting materials. It will always show the most recent version as it is a live document. Furthermore, if anyone had asked for that document, it was a public document that was posted on our website, so I would have been happy to direct anyone to it. Further, he says, the school board is taken to not posting their meeting agenda in a timely manner and provide little or no valuable information in the meeting materials. In fact, for this meeting today, as of 1:50 p.m., there is nothing in this folder for today's meeting. I must believe this is a conscious decision on the part of the school board chair not to provide this information, as they are responsible for making sure that this information is correct and posted. I responded, I agree that posting of the agenda for our meetings this summer have not been as timely as in the past. I share your frustration, and members of the board can attest that I have discussed the issue at length with our superintendent and requested better compliance to our policy. The meeting materials for tonight's meeting were in fact posted on the website Monday, August 16th. I shared the links to the posted agenda and the meeting materials on Monday evening as soon as I was able to return home after my father-in-law's funeral. Mrs. Flynn has just notified me that the link had been bumped on the website as other items had been added, and that she has returned it to its original place on the agendas and meeting materials page. In the future, please contact me if the agenda or materials have not been publicly posted on the Monday before the meeting, or if you are not able to find them on the website. As I stated earlier, my goal has always been to increase communication and transparency. The last statement made in that email was, if one is unable to provide the correct leadership and direction for the school board, they should not be in this role. In watching the last few months, it seems to me the present school board chair is more enamored with the title than doing the job of SB chair. My response is, the role of the board chair is one of a collaborator and a facilitator, not one of power. I take my role seriously, and I serve at the will of the board. I'm sure as a former board member and chair yourself, you understand that the work is never finished and is often unseen by those who aren't privy to the scope and gravity of the responsibility of being a board member. These past 2 years in particular have brought many tough decisions and challenges to our board, and I believe we have weathered them well. That said, I will entertain a motion from the board to remove me and replace the position of chair if any member sees fit. That's all from me.
You addressed my question from Mr. York. What I don't understand is when he says the folder, what's he referencing?
I have no idea. There was no folder.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
Because I think he might be trying to access the old folder as a board member, which he's been removed from access. So it's always going to be empty for him. Because I don't think there's a public folder, correct,
No,
Michelle?
no,
Right.
no, they're just
So I think
public
he's
links.
looking in a spot that he used to have access to that he no longer does. And I'll just clarify that point for him. We'll get him pointed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I read that, I'm like,
Yeah, and I
don't
did provide
understand the
him
comment.
with the links to the current agenda and the meeting materials that were posted on the website.
I think it's possible too. He's just using just a term, because he's reached out to me in the past and said there are no materials, and then I would reach out to Michelle, and sure enough, they weren't, and then they were. So,
but this time there were.
But this time they were
Yeah.
there.
And you know, the plan was there. That's why he's saying that the plan wasn't there at 150. And I'm like, it's really essentially the same plan from June and July with slight modifications. But
Right.
I want to clarify where he's looking. I'll just help
Yeah,
him make
thank
sure
you
that we're
for
in the
that.
right spot.
And
So
I as I said, I'm happy to help. And anytime he would like to, if he can't find a material that he's looking for, I'm happy to be the liaison to make that happen. Any other school board comments?
I just would like to say that actually, Tina, I appreciate when we do all have differences, and I appreciate the fact that you respect all of everybody's opinion. And even though I didn't agree with you, the three of you, on that one square, it was handled very professionally. Nobody was demeaned, and I think that that's important. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think this all goes back to social media. It's all social media. And I think people assume because you're school board chair, everything that comes out of your mouth is as a school board chair. That's why I don't post anything political on my page, nothing about school. All you see is my kids. And maybe that's how it was misconstrued. But I think we don't have a personal Facebook. That's what you think your personal Facebook page is just for you, while other people see you as the chair of our board, and everything you do is. I'm just trying to see how they're seeing it.
I understand.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. I just wanted the opportunity to explain why I posted that, and
it should be different, though. It absolutely should be. I was actually upset when I was emailed about all this CRT stuff in my personal email. That is not right. It needs to be going to my school board email. School board materials need to go to school board email addresses. I think the benefits of you as a representative of the board being that voice on Facebook, there is much more benefit to that than drawback. There's been more communication than ever. We're never going to please everybody. It's just not possible. But I think the board over the years has come a long way, and you're more responsive than the board has ever been. So, and I think overall, and when you look at the balance of it, I think it's a positive thing. Might we all at one point or another disagree with maybe how you've said something? Yeah, but do I have the time to do it? Absolutely not. I don't have the time.
But we have to be mindful. Christina Harrison as the resident and Christina Harrison as the school board are two different people. So that's why we're supposed to say, I'm speaking as a school board member. I never say personally or anything like that.
Right. And when I speak as a school board member, I make that clear.
Right.
This was on
When she was publicly, she's it
right.
was your
This was
personal
on my
page.
personal private page. So in the future, I'll be more careful about who sees what I post and what I do post.
And I don't think getting into discussions on Facebook is appropriate either. Not that anyone's doing it, because we represent our school board, no matter where I am, whether I'm at Hannaford, I'm doing my hands again. If I represent, everyone here gets an earful wherever they are as a school board member and as a parent. We opened ourselves up to that, but we're also residents of this town who have our own opinions, which you obviously all know
I
mine.
think both you and Heidi have been very respectful, and questions that I've had, you've answered via personal messaging, which I think is the better format.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to yak it.
Right.
It does.
I mean,
Right.
Not everybody. And I do differ from.
Everybody happy.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to get into it on Facebook, because we've all seen
Oh,
it turn
yeah, that
ugly in
goes
every way,
way
shape,
off
and
track.
form.
Yeah. Any other school board comments? Let's keep moving with this agenda. Superintendent comments.
All right, so just to give you a quick enrollment update, I'll try to blow this up on the screen so
I saw that
it's
today.
easier to see. So keep in mind, last year, K through 4, we had 394 students at Griffin. Part of that was because of the COVID situation. There were some families who made choices not to be at Griffin. We were predicting 417. That was a prediction that was sort of, it was based on the COVID year we were experiencing, right? Because we're doing rolling averages, 3-year averages. And so when you have a dip, then that impacts the averaging. So 417 was what our prediction was. As of today, hot off the press, we're at 428. So we're 11 students over the prediction. I don't think that's a misprediction. I think it's the COVID uncertainty that's being carried forward. If you look at the kindergarten number, the trigger number was 76. We're at a solid 83, so we're going with the 5 staff. In first grade, we were at 84. We're now down to 79. We were bellied up to 84 with 83 students for a good chunk of the summer. Principal Mitchell was watching that very closely, but we've since learned of students who are moving, and so that number has dropped back to 79, which gives everybody a chance to breathe. The trigger number in second grade was 84, and we're steady at 81. That's up 1 from where we were. It has been creeping up, but there's still some wiggle room. The third grade number, 84 was the trigger. We're now at 87. So again, we had surpassed 84 all along, but you'll see that it's gone as high as 89, and now it's back down to 87. And then finally, fourth grade, the trigger number was 97, and we are at 98. So we are above that trigger number, and we're in the process of hiring. He has interviewed teachers for that position and is trying to work out who to finalize recommendations and get a candidate to me so that we can have that in place. I also asked him, the current PK enrollment is 30. So when he presented this, he had 458 in this column. And I'm like, oh, that whole column is K through 4. So I said, pull the PK out, park them on the side rather than confusing. I don't want it to look like you're at 458 PK through 4. Or I'm sorry, K through 4, because even all the way back here, it's always been about the K4 numbers. So 394 best compares to the 428. So let me pause and see if you have questions about the enrollment numbers and where we sit. And we'll know a lot more at the middle school and the high school on first day counts.
First Friday? You do the first Friday count?
We do 3 trigger points. So it's the opening day, who's actually in front of you. Then there's a second one, which I think is the first Friday. But this year we're not in school on Friday, so we might have to do it first Thursday.
Well, we can
Or
always
the following
do it
Monday.
The following Friday.
Well, the following.
Be the first Friday.
Oh, there you go. So we'll still do the first Friday. It'll just be 2 weeks in. And then the last one is October 1st, and that's the one that we use to go through. All right?
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bus route update. Do we have a bus route update?
Yes, so this is where we are with bus routes. Michelle has finalized the bus routes, and they have gone off to first student to verify that they're accurate. Our goal is to have those posted by Friday, I believe, Michelle.
If possible Friday, if the latest would be Monday, the latest would be this weekend. But I think, I haven't heard anything back from the bus company, so I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that everything's good. If everything's good, they will be posted Friday.
So the bus routes are almost ready for prime time. And then I would just remind the board that opening days are going to be very telling. We're a little unsure how many high schoolers will be riding the bus. What's the impact with middle schoolers? How many will be dropped off? I mean, the earlier start time may work well for some families who choose to do the drop off.
Do they have a specific website? Because my kids it's going to be new this year that they'll get on the bus. So
Yes, it'll come out.
I'll post it on Facebook. I'll post it on Facebook when it comes out.
It'll be posted on the district website, and each school will have their bus routes on their page. So if you go to
the portal that we created,
if you if you go to like Litchfield Middle School homepage, it'll be there.
I think the fact that masks are going to be required on buses may encourage parents may be interested in driving their kids similar to last year at those levels. What do you guys think?
I think it could go either way. There are some who will feel comfort with the masks and want to ride. There are some who will not want to ride because of the masks. And I think the other things are what we don't know is because drop off at the middle school is between 7:15 and 7:20 for parents. That's a tight window, and that may work well for families on their way to work. But that's such a different window than what we had last year. It could be a swing that shifts what ends up happening. So
I see. Yeah.
Dr. Jetty, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know that I interrupt. These are your comments. I know there've been a lot of questions about why. Are you going to address that later? Why we changed the hours? And then just to remind
Yeah.
parents why we did it,
So,
because people are questioning why it was done,
um,
why we went to 7:15. I've seen that question. I don't respond to things on Facebook, but I see it all.
our interim principal, Martha Thayer,
Mhm.
is putting a communication together that will go out to families by the end of the week
Okay.
that will answer a lot of the questions. But
Fantastic.
in a nutshell, let's just do a quick reminder. We've added 30 minutes of instructional time at the middle school.
Which we were short for the state.
We were bellied up to the hours,
Yeah.
and then depending on how you interpreted the best block,
Okay.
that tipped the scale one way or the other. So I think what we've done is come up with a plan that adds 30 minutes. We've solidified the best block as instructional time.
Mhm.
That may mean a little more homework coming home because it's not getting done during the day, but that will be instructional time. You think about 30 minutes, that's 90 hours of instruction a year. So I have a lot of confidence that the way we can meet programming needs. So for example, health and PE are purposely rotated. So it's PE 1 year, health the next, PE 1 year, health the next. So the point is we're all about teaching healthy habits and behaviors in education throughout the middle school years. There could be topics that are covered in those that are a little bit different, but physical education is not physical activity. They're two different notions, right? So as we refine all of this, I'm confident that we're going to be able to get all the activities in for our students. And to clarify, because I read some of the comments that came in too, our teachers' contract is very clear that the teachers can only have four preparation periods. And that's the thing that drove why we had to semesterize the classes because of the contract language. So we're meeting the agreement that we have with our teachers, and that's a firm commitment that we need to have going forward. So all of these are what factored into the new schedule. But I think, the community appreciates having the additional instructional time. And frankly, middle schoolers will be at school longer when you add the bus rides in too. It's a longer time period that they're engaged in school, bus riding and school activities.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're
Brought
welcome.
it all in.
I think I captured.
You did capture it.
There's a lot more, but
Dr.
I
Jetty,
captured the best.
Dr. Jetty, so how do we do drop off now? Is it at 7:15 instead of like 7:30 like it was?
Exactly.
So we get in line at like,
I would get in line at
7 a.m.?
7. I would get in line at 7:10.
5.
okay.
5.
And so what is pickup now?
Martha's going to be sending an email out to everybody.
Okay.
But it'll
with
be
all the
2:05.
information.
Yeah.
So same as last year?
Pick up.
Last year was 2, so it's 2:05.
Oh, okay, so extra 20 minutes per day.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. And did you finalize, like, what's happening? 7 and 8 are masks in the hallway, masks on bus, and masks getting into the classroom, and then when do they get to take them off, or do they stay on?
Will Martha address that?
We'll address all that too.
Like
Yep, we'll
hallways
get that
and
in the
stuff like that.
communication.
So are we getting an additional email from that as well?
Correct.
So nothing is finalized. So when people are like, oh, what's going on? We say nothing. When is it gonna be final? Saturday?
You got people waiting at home.
Yeah, no, I did, yeah,
It'll be out by this Friday.
okay.
All right, you're in charge.
But we
of
just
Facebook
finalized
now.
it.
Yes, we did. And
Yes,
you're right. What
it
you
is
just said is
finalized.
accurate.
Okay.
You have it.
So
I was
I'm paying
here. I
attention.
heard it.
On board.
It's all good.
All right.
Anything else on bus routes?
Nope.
Michelle, the bus routes are starting at 6:45, 6:40,
6:45.
6:45.
And there might be one or two with a longer route because of the daycares.
Mhm.
That sucks.
Okay.
But just so parents have that guide, 6:45.
All right.
The last thing is the 2021-22 tuition rates. This is going to be a tongue twister all year, I think. So
I
as
say 21, 22. We'll know what you're talking about.
21, 22. I just need to cut the 20.
Abbreviate it.
Yep. So we fill out the DOE 25, and that was given to the board at the last meeting. We then calculate what the tuition rates are going forward. I asked Michelle to add a column in called the daily rate because it's difficult to say that the elementary school is going to cost $16,058 a year. You know, we simply divide that by 180 instructional days and we say it's $89.21 a day. The reason is that we have some families that are asking about tuitioning in. They may not have the ability to pay 16,000 in a lump sum, but we do monthly payments, et cetera. So the daily rate was just something that was helpful. You can see the high is at the middle school at $94.11 a day. And the low is actually at the elementary at $89.21 a day.
And we have in the past had individuals that only paid a week or 2 weeks or a couple days because they were coming in.
So, and you can also look back at the bottom, the last 2 years approved rates. So you can see they do fluctuate. It all depends on the way everything is charged back relative to the DOE 25. But I am looking for the board approval on the tuition rates, which are calculated right off that form.
I'll make a motion to approve the tuition rates.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the 21-22 tuition rates, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Passes 500. Already done school board comments, so I'll make a motion to approve the public minutes from July 28th.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Public minutes from July 28th are approved 500. Business administrators report.
All right, so I provided, re-provided the report from the last meeting because I was away on vacation. I just wanted to have it back out there in case there were any questions on any of that information. We had a very successful audit. They were with us for 2.5 days. There were no audit adjustments made to the financial statements. So what I initially provided towards the end of June is pretty accurate to where we stand now. Based on that, the DOE 25 was provided for review over the past couple meetings. Michelle has signature sheets for those, so those can be submitted to the state by the September 1st deadline. Also in there is a signature sheet for the MS-25. The MS-25 is an identical report to the DOE 25 in a more concise form. So they just go to different. So the MS-25 will go to the Municipal Services Division, the DRA, for tax rate setting in their portal, and the DOE 25 goes directly to the Department of Education. I gave an update based on some things that are going on right now, based on construction management meetings and just reviewing what's going on at LMS. The windows are completed. The main office has been completed. They're starting to move all the furniture back into those areas. The one thing that we've run into is they want to, and we've decided to relocate a rooftop unit that would run more efficiently inside the mezzanine. So they are working on bringing that into the building.
Inside the building, not in the thing in the middle?
Yeah, it was originally, it's, if you're sitting at the circle at the school, you can actually see it. It's a blue rooftop unit.
Yeah.
It's going to be moved into the mechanical room, which is right there. And the old equipment has already been demoed and taken out of there. So there's
So it's
sufficient
much
space
smaller
for it.
too.
It is smaller,
Hmm.
but just from talking with all our consultants and everything, it will run much more efficiently
That
on
makes
the
sense.
inside of the building. They have also completed doing 2 testing rooms for the windows insulation at the roof joint and insulation along the concrete slab, one on the north end, one on the south end of the building. They're going to conduct blower door tests when the insulation is completed to see what efficiency we have picked up in that room. Based on a test that we did on one of the first windows that was put in, I believe they said it was about a 46% increase in efficiency.
What was that number?
46% in infiltration. So where we had the drones go through and to take thermal imaging of the building, it was, the side of the building was glowing red with the heat loss. So we're hoping this is going to be a major improvement in comfort level And it's also going to save us some operational cost because we're going to save in fuel, we're going to save in electricity,
Is
and
this
all
due to
those
the,
things.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. Is it due to the windows, the window replacement?
The
or is
window,
this-
the window replacement, that was the first test we did
Okay.
on one of the first windows that was done. So they do a blower door test and
Oh, that's a
pressurize
blower
the
door
room.
test.
Yep. And they're going to redo that test on the test rooms that they've completed on either end of the building.
I'm interested to see the savings next year.
Yeah.
Like the gallons, maybe not, we
Yep.
can't go by dollars, but we could go by gallons
Yeah.
used or propane, therms, whatever they are, firm.
And the tests are going to be just based on those two rooms,
Mhm.
and you take that and extrapolate it out
Yeah.
on what you can save. And Dick Henry helps us out a lot with those type of calculations and such. So North Branch is bringing in their cleaning crew tomorrow and Friday to do a final kind of once over, and then hand the building back over fully to us to be ready for opening.
So
So
all those the new conference room in that
yeah,
whole area.
yeah.
Wow.
And he
Just dated.
okay, you have to date that there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, their foreman Darren has been ambitious with his 3-week schedules every time he shares them with us each time we meet, and he's been really following through on it. He's kept those subs moving, so it's been a great experience working with them. Trying to think, is there anything else on the project? No, we're holding off on the roof will be forthcoming when that comes in the fall.
Didn't do the kitchen this year.
We did not do the
Okay.
kitchen
That's
at
next.
this point,
next
and we
phase.
are still looking at we're looking at doing the cooler replacement
Yeah. Okay.
this phase, but the next phase will be the renovation after we've done the design.
Perfect.
So that'll bring us to the GMS project and what's included in here. And I believe Mike sent it out to the board members and linked it to the agenda is the proposal from Barker Architects, which is the architect firm we chose out of Concord to work on the new elementary school. This proposal is for pre-bond services. So conducting a needs assessment, reviewing, I think he's going to review both LMS and GMS. And from that, he comes up with what the options are. What are the decisions to be made going into the future? Proposal is also broken out by the 3 organizations that are involved. Barker Architects, Ashley McGraw Architects out of Syracuse, and Vason Studios, which is part of Ashley McGraw. So they do the landscape architecture and the marketing and all those types of things. So it's the total for that is $117,000 for the services through Barker for the pre-bond phase, and those costs would be funded through the expendable trust fund for the capital improvements.
So basically, the $100,000 we had added to that fund last year
Yep.
almost covers the
Yes.
the cost
Yep.
of this.
We've added 100,000 twice, so.
Yeah, we added
Okay.
another
That
100.
fund has 200.
Yep.
Okay.
And just so the full board has this, we remember we started with RFQs. We had a number of firms that we reached out to bid on the project. We interviewed 4 that came in that were really attractive and selected 2 as finalists. And the thing that I think tipped the scale for Kyle Barker is that he is experienced building schools in New Hampshire, and we could go and see public schools in New Hampshire that he has constructed. The other thing is that, and don't panic over the Syracuse connection. The folks in Syracuse have built 30 net zero schools.
School, yeah,
Schools, public schools, 30 of them, versus in New Hampshire, the first net zero public school to open will be Oyster River that'll open next February. So New Hampshire does not have a lot of depth of experience with it. And so Kyle will be the architect of record, but he has a big house backing him up that will make sure that the work he's doing meets all the things that need to be done. So, and Dick Henry, who is our energy consultant, was very excited by what the folks were bringing to the table.
Very,
so
very
excited.
excited.
I mean, He's driving out to Syracuse to have lunch with Calvin, I
Yeah.
think, who
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
guy from.
he could be.
Energy efficiency guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we have selected the right firm. I don't think I think any of the firms would have done a nice job for us, but the way Kyle has put it together and his experience in New Hampshire is critical. So we're hoping the board will approve the fee. We've already had preliminary meetings with him, but.
I will note as well that we have received a proposal. We'll bring it forward probably in a couple weeks, but we did receive a proposal from David Ely to stay on as the owner's rep in working with the architect. So that makes sure, because Mike said it this morning in the admin, I haven't built a school. He hasn't built a school. So that having David Ely there as that piece for communication, that middleman, he
Watching
knows
out
the
for us.
questions to ask. So we'll be bringing that proposal forward probably through the capital or the facilities improvement committee within the next couple of weeks.
I did have a question. Looking over the report, I noticed on the second page under general pre-bond project management, they wrote an estimate of $40,630, but then put in parentheses $33,600.
Yeah.
And when
Tina
you
Coleman.
add up that total, it actually adds up to $127,000.
Okay, so
Number is the right
So I just want to
number.
make sure.
I think
Are we
he
approving 117 or are we approving 127?
117, because actually when he handed us the proposal over in Oyster River, he said he had revised that number because it's the 33.6, so he just didn't revise the words.
Okay.
Obviously, legal document, we probably want to have him revise that because it's the written word that
Great. That's what
Matters.
counts on a check anyway.
Yeah. it's the same thing in contract
Yeah.
law. So
Yeah.
if we can have him just revise that so it stays correct, but it
But
is
the
the
amount is the
117.
117.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
I
there
just
was
wanted to double check.
items covered there that were also duplicated in another area in his initial proposal, so he had to make that adjustment.
Well, he has another one he has to adjust to.
What's that?
The needs assessment feasibility study.
Yep.
It's written out 17,400, and then in numerical, it's 17,800.
All right. We can have him make those revisions.
Before we sign it.
Yes, before we sign, but we would ask for the
Approval of
authorization
this.
for Mike or myself to
Okay.
sign the
All
proposal.
right. I'll make a motion to approve the architect fee proposal as amended.
I'll second.
Thank you. Heidi seconded. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstain? 500.
And I think as the board starts meeting some of the group, it might be through
Yeah.
Google Meet or maybe in person. They're young, energetic. They're just very professional, and I think they're going to do a super job. Like each one of them has like a different component what they're responsible for, and you just sense the passion in like how they were talking.
Yeah. It's incredible.
So Brian and Tina have seen the RFQs. Have we shared Kyle's packet with the full board?
I think
don't
I think I asked you to do that last meeting or 2 meetings ago.
Did I?
All of them.
You have Kyle's,
Yeah,
okay.
have it.
So-
Gray, is
Yeah.
it the gray cover? Yeah, I have it.
Okay, I just want to make sure I did it and
You
that
did.
you've had the chance to see it.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Very nicely done.
All right. School board action steps, school
Well,
board goals. And
Before you do that, I just got one thing for Corey. Can you possibly just double check your reports when you send them, make sure they're like the right way?
on the PDF. Yeah, I can do that for you.
Great.
Plus
I have
when it's
a, I have
long,
a
it
couple
keeps-
that are like super Brian like
That's
this.
my dad. I usually do that for him.
Michelle, will you send me the July report and the August update? And I will share that with the budget committee. Thank you. We have our meeting next week, I think, 28th. So, school board goals, action steps. Did you want to provide some context? We need to approve the school board goals or the
So,
approve the action
you know,
steps?
these were presented at the last meeting.
Yep.
And I asked the board to look them over, think about them, and just looking for feedback and whether you agree that we're on the right track with the action steps that we're setting forward. We're trying, like I cautioned the principals, I'm like, do not not write 15 action steps
Mhm.
because you can't do them.
Right.
So I want you to really focus on 3 key things or 4 if you need to. And so I'm just looking for feedback and whether we're in the right spot.
I think they're good. I had a comment the last time, which was incorporated. But my question is, with the LMS principal leaving and the CHS guidance counselor leaving, how does that affect these, if at all?
It shouldn't affect them because we're in the early stages of finding a principal at LMS, and it'll be up to Martha and me and the rest of the team to help that person lead this. And the reason we've named Martha as interim, she helped Tom to develop that. So
I'd say
I
the
feel
principal's
like,
going to walk in
Right.
with a vice principal that's collaborated to make.
and I think that, then we just basically say to the principal, this is what to really zero in on and to focus on. The CHS guidance transition, we have somebody in place. You'll be looking at the packet later. And again, the team is going to take charge of how to focus on that. So I feel very confident that as much as there's a personnel change, the organization has a direction. So.
All right. So you need approval on those action steps? I'll make a
Please.
motion to approve the school and district action steps for 21-22.
Second.
Further discussion?
The only discussion I have is, and it's a comment for the handbooks too. Can we spell out any acronyms or define them? Just because this will end up being a document that parents and guardians read and
Yeah,
they don't understand them.
Yeah. Yeah, PELC, SEL.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all
There's a
important.
ton of them there.
Important acronyms.
All right, thanks.
Did I call for the vote? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? 500. We already talked about the senior project, which was approved. And now we're on old business policies. We have approval of policy JIC, JICD, JICDD, JICK.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Brian has a motion. I'll second. All in favor of approving policies JIC, JICD, JICDD, and JICK? Say aye.
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 Opposed?
You're a little slow going here.
I know, I was taking a bite of my banana, sorry.
Abstain? 500. Those are all approved. We have policies to be rescinded. I'll make a motion to rescind policy JICDR and JKD.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
That was better.
0. Rescinded as requested. School handbooks.
So I think you had the handbooks last time, minus the final tweaks to
Yeah.
the discipline tiered system.
Mhm.
And you had a draft of what it was going to look like, and that has now been finalized by the 3 schools. So
Okay.
I think it's actually a couple of things. It provides continuity across the schools. It's consistent with the new law in terms of a progressive discipline model. And it's really more clear to our administrators and teachers what they should be doing versus, where everything falls. So I hope that this provides greater clarity going forward.
I agree. I'll make a motion to approve the progressive discipline charts and the student handbooks for 21-22.
Second.
So my only question is, I did notice on the LMS handbook, there are references to Mr. Lecklider throughout. So we'll need to, for the 21-22, so we should probably update that. I don't know when, but at some point, because it's on the cover, and then throughout in the middle as well. The letterhead.
Yeah,
It
that's
just
true.
seems like we're not on top of things if things aren't updated. Like if you see a picture from 2018.
Keep in mind the timing of when Mr. Lecklider announced his. So we're under the gun, but I think we're going to post it as is because we sort of have to, and then we will.
We can update it because it's online.
Yeah, it's not going to be printed out and handed out, right?
Exactly, and we can do a find and replace, search and
Right.
replace. So we'll
And
make
Heidi
that.
will remind us.
I will, sorry. But I think, in terms of, it says on here who to contact, and it he's still listed there, and I
Well, there's-
assume at some point that
There's no one
email
else
is
to
going to
contact
be
as of yet, so actually it's
active.
correct.
I think we will. Watch.
All right.
Or
All right.
just forward the phone calls to his cell phone.
And I had a couple.
Okay,
things too.
Tara had a comment on the handbooks. for the
I
discipline.
had a couple comments for GMS, but I put them on there, so if those could
Mhm.
just be shared. One specific question I had is why can't students buy an extra milk or a la carte items at GMS?
They've never been able to.
They should be able to.
Which
Why?
page is that?
Page 26, section 8-8.1. That's what it says. Students.
Did you make that comment on there? Yes. Good.
Yes, I did. So that's something I feel like we should look into.
I somewhat agree with that. If they can purchase ice cream or other a la carte items.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, look at
It
the
says you
language in
can't
case it's
charge
something.
it. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? So that was one thing. And
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to flesh that out with Lauren.
No, it will not be allowed to charge milk or a la
Oh.
carte items if they don't have money in their account. It's
Oh,
yeah, they need to have money in their account. Maybe that could be clarified,
Yeah,
but
I
I
don't
think
think
that's what
it's-
it's.
I didn't read
what
it
it's
that
saying.
way.
If you don't have a balance,
if
Do
you,
they have
if you
a
don't
la
have a
carte?
balance,
But they don't have a la carte at the oh my god, that was a Boston accent slip. They don't
A la
have
carte?
a la carte. Do they have cookies?
milk is
and
milk is
just-
considered a la carte.
But they don't have cookies and stuff at GMS,
They
do
used to
they?
have ice
They
cream
did.
and
They used to have
stuff.
ice cream, but I think
Yeah.
that's gone.
Yeah.
That's where
A lot of it's gone now because of where we are.
Yeah, but I think she's gonna start bringing back the a la carte items because now you've got food service being reimbursed at a higher rate
Mhm.
per reimbursable meal, but now you have an opportunity to make up the local revenue by bringing a la carte back in and generating revenue, which is
Yeah.
really the goal of this year in the
And who
program.
doesn't love an ice cream sandwich during the day?
Huh?
oh, I know. All right, and then LMS, it says all GMS. Well, actually, my question is, I guess GMS. It says that GMS is going to be included in LMS emails now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if all GMS should be included. I feel like it's just the incoming grade, like fourth grade, if possible.
And maybe just at the end of the year.
Yeah, true. But anyway, just clarification on that.
So are we ready to approve
That's
it or do, I mean, we need to approve it because it needs to be posted
Right.
and
Go
signed
out.
on.
Needs to go out.
Yeah. All right. So I'll make a motion to approve the student handbooks. I think I already did this. And progressive discipline charts as amended. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 500.
Tar, can I just clarify? You wrote mask link. You mean like embed it, right? So instead of
Look at how the
listing
policies are done in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just so you don't have to see the URL.
Yep.
It just is cleaner.
especially since
All the
it's online.
policies are done
It's all
properly.
online, yeah.
I got it.
Just make it a different color.
It like it says www.schoolcounselor. It's like, you know, American Association
Yeah.
of School
Like
Counselor
that's how you link
website,
the
and you
policies.
highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you embed the link.
Right.
All right. That brings us to the manifest. Any questions on the manifest?
Did you cite it? Tara?
It's all set. Yeah.
Okay. Public input. Do we have any more? We don't have any more in attendance. Do we have anyone from home?
Let me go look. Let's see. Oh God, what did I do?
That's not good.
No, you know what it is? The link ends at 8:00. So Cinderella turned into a
Oh,
pumpkin.
okay.
Here. I just gotta go
Ah.
back to it. Here we go. And it's me, myself, and I.
All right. I think everyone else has gone to bed. So with that, I will close out this meeting and thank everybody for watching and attending. I think it was a much longer meeting than anticipated, but I think we had some really good discussion, and I think everybody knows now where we are moving forward. So our next meeting is
September 1st.
September 1st. It will be at Town Hall at 5 p.m. You can reach us in the meantime by emailing schoolboard@litchfieldsd.org. Thank you and have a good night. With that, we'll go into non-public. RSA 91-A:311, parentheses A through C. A, the dismissal of promotion or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any such charges against him unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting, and 2, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or agency itself, unless such person requests an open meeting. That is it. So, a roll call vote. Brian,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Liz, and Heidi.
Yeah.
Yes. So that brings us to non-public. Have a good night.
What is wrong with my bladder? Logging those links.
Get a flash flood report?
What's that?
Yeah,
Flash flood?
report? That's what I-
Jeez.